but mostly right.
I think you're live. Right, we are. I think you're live. We're live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission meeting for September 28th, 2021. Before we begin the proceedings, anyone that would like to join us in prayer, please do so. And please also feel free to join us with at the Pledge of Allegiance. Right now, I'm calling on Commissioner German to lead us in prayer.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Let us bow our heads. I'm going to start off with Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. Lean not into thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, he should direct our path. We just come to you today, God, asking you to give us direction. We ask you to guide our choices and listen and learn and make sound judgments on each vote. And we just thank you for our safety and allowing us to be here. We ask that the citizens here in this chamber come here for the purpose that they attended to hear and trust in the government that should do the right thing. We just ask, God, that you protect the city of Muskegon. We ask that you protect us in this time of a pandemic. We ask that you watch over all of us, our children, our firefighters, our police officers who protect us. And when it's said and done, we're going to give you the glory in the name of Jesus. We pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
It should already be on. Will you check for me?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Oh, sorry. It's okay.
Commissioner Emery? Here. Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Gallren?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hood?
Here.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Here.
Commissioner German?
Here.
Commissioner Muskegon?
Here.
Thank you. Before we proceed, just a couple of items. Approval of the minutes is removed from consent in order to make some adjustments and corrections. Also being removed this evening is item K under consent, West Urban ARP Development Agreement for additional needs to address. And at the end of consent, we will be moving up unfinished business, which includes amendment to the floodplain management ordinance, second reading, and the rezoning of 1128 Roberts, which has been tabled since August 24th. And that will provide an opportunity, after hearing public comment beforehand, to address that sooner than later. Okay. First up then is honors, awards, and presentations.
Okay. Is Morning Bear here?
Yes, she's out.
Morning Bear? Bear. It's a good time, huh? You're going to give this a That's wonderful. Okay, so.
I got to be the designated speaker tonight. My name is Liz Wilder, and I am here on behalf of a great group of people, partly with the Lions Club and also with some funding through the Muskegon Senior Millage with Senior Resources and also the City of Muskegon. Just a little bit of a background of a program that we run out of the farmers market every summer. It's called the Power of Produce for Seniors, also known as POP. So if you guys ever see us down there and you see POP, we're not giving away Coke or Mountain Dew. What the program does is essentially it puts fresh produce into the hands of seniors in our community. The only requirement is you have to be 60 years or older and reside in the county of Muskegon. So for 10 weeks over the summer, with a fantastic, dedicated group of volunteers, we were able to put $93,000 of fresh produce into the hands of seniors at no cost to them. So each Tuesday, So every Tuesday, we met anywhere from 1,100 to 1,400 seniors within 4 hours and provided them each Tuesday with $8 in free coupons that they could use at the farmer's market to purchase fresh produce. And one of the things that I absolutely loved about it is how excited they were to see us every Tuesday and how grateful they were. The stories that they tell us when they come up and are just so wonderfully thankful. And none of that would have been possible, like I said, without the Lions Club, without the City of Muskegon, and without Senior Resources providing the grant funds in order for us to do that every week. And all of these lovely people were there to help. We do have some that were unable to be here tonight. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? No, they don't. That's why I got to be the designated speaker. But this is my first year doing it. I'm not exactly sure how many years the Lions has been doing it morning. 6 years. So this was their 6th year. We've already been able to secure funding for next year, so definitely looking forward to being out there again. If you guys know any seniors, like I said, the only requirement is 60 years or older and a Muskegon County resident. Look for us the middle of July. We're set up right on the side of the farmers market on Terrace. They just have to come out and register, and then every week they get to come out and enjoy the market and also get some fresh produce to take home.
And again, we have to thank these folks that are the hands that feed the action of what
I have turned everyone on me.
somebody.
You made it very fun.
Very good. Very good. It's merely a token, but from our hearts to you for everything that you do. Thank you very much. On behalf of the commission, and all the city, and certificates of thanks granted to each one of you for the outstanding volunteerism for the 2021 Senior Power of Produce. And first up, we have
Thank you, but not everyone could be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Katie Lindstrom. Oh, okay. I'll just keep on handing them out.
Same way.
Rachel Chester. Kathy Burrows. Lady Tice.
Oh my God.
Darla Anglin. Kelly Balta. Kwame James. Gary Linehan. Jim Fabiola. Oh, I'm right behind you, Ken Johnson. And how about Kristen Anthony? And again, for what you do, and I know that it comes from here, for the sake of all those other people who are in this community. You know, thank you. Once again. That brings us to public comment on any agenda item. At this time, each individual that wishes to speak on any particular agenda item is invited up front. We just ask you to come to the microphone and get pretty close. We need your name, your address, and you're allotted 3 minutes on your topic. When you come up and after giving your name and address, please let us know which agenda item you are speaking on. Again, you have 3 minutes. We do not engage in debate or deliberation at this time. However, your comments will be taken into consideration when that item comes up for discussion with the commission, staff, and any of the proposers or developers. Okay? I do have some written requests, and we'll work our way through these first.
That we could just come up. I apologize.
Pardon me?
I said I was coming up because I thought it was time to do that real quick. I just had something to say.
No, I
I
have.
apologize.
Okay, I'm going to run through these first,
I'll
Diane.
sit down.
Okay.
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 Do I need to fill that out then?
No, but
That's why I was.
and as long as it's on an agenda
It
item,
is.
then you'll be welcome up. Okay.
I'll wait.
Looks to be that the majority of my written requests are regarding the rezoning under unfinished business at 1128 Roberts. And I have a Bridget Shepherd is my first requester. And Miss Shepherd, if you'd come up. And the city clerk will be keeping time and will wave like crazy 30 seconds before the end of the 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Bridget Shepherd in reference to the rezoning on Robert Street, address 1229 East Isabella. My first thing is I can honestly say is I've been so conflicted through this whole thing, and it's required a lot of prayer on my part. Not to be selfish, not to be short-sighted, and not to look for problems where they may not be. That being said, I've been moved watching amongst these meetings how much power these few people in this room have. We've come at you with different concerns in reference to the environment, to the amount of traffic, to the amount of parking, to the amount of traffic, and all of those such things. But one thing I really haven't come at you completely with is the aspect of the love for other people and that their success means more than just not in my backyard. When you hear that phrase, not in my backyard, it's a concept of literally division that shouldn't be in our land at all. I have no say what my neighbors do, where they've been, or anything else. So, therefore, I do have a problem on the general sense when it comes down to the 16-bed, 2-unit facilities. Let me explain why. I've been involved in human service. I can't stress to you the experience and the just things that I've seen and gone through with people. And that's more moving than anything. But what moves me on this is that a 16-bed unit, 2 units being 32 beds, inpatient treatment centers, their success rates are significantly less than sober living homes. Sober living has taken on a huge marker of great success in the 87%. That individualized care is the biggest thing that has been an asset to these individuals. The participants that participate in these programs, when they're on the one-on-one basis, they have a great walk of life and how to sustain life in a home and a residence in a neighborhood and doing the things they need to learn to do, the things that they're exposed to and how to react to them, to the concepts of basic life. On an inpatient treatment center, they are treated on a short-term basis. Even on the National Drug Institute is 90 days is minimum. But even at 90 days, it is seen that over 50% go back to either using, back to jail, or they commit suicide. That bugs me more than anything, and I've said that several times. I've worked with homeless people that bad things happen to good people. Drug addiction isn't something people ask for. And in all honesty, each and every one of you, I was honestly tempted to bring a garbage bag of the medications that I have been on. Because when we talk medical zoning, that is the fear that people also insinuate, even if it doesn't come down to prescriptions. But changing that zoning into that of a medical changes the aspects of perception as well. Please consider the concept of sober living. The success rates. Let Muskegon put on the mark that we are investing in something that is good, not an inpatient treatment center that has harm none.
Thanks, Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you.
Lori Schoolcraft.
Hi, my name is Lori Schoolcraft. I live at 1230 McLaughlin. Right outside my back door is a proposed area for one of the 15-bed units. I certainly don't come here with any statistics, as Bridget did. I think it was wonderful. My concern or my topic, my voice is how we want the community, the city, to bring people in. You know, I've read stuff about people moving out to the rural. They got to get away from the city. It's not safe. But yet you want people to live in the city, to beautify it, to landscape it. And if we don't feel comfortable in our own backyard, and I'm not referencing not in my backyard, but we walk our dogs, we play with our kids, our grandkids, and to have that huge development, what happens when this fails? We're stuck with 2 15-bed units. It doesn't even fit in the neighborhood. You've already, you being Fresh Coast, have already established yourself in the neighborhood, unbeknownst to us, but it's not anything you need to share with us other than you already have designated halfway houses. You have people that are trying to find their way back. But why is it subject to what we have in our own home, where we feel safe, where we feel comfortable? This is bringing in a different dynamic to the neighborhood. It doesn't fit. You've got the increased traffic, and now it's an MC, medical care facility, in a neighborhood where kids are playing. And I'm not going to pretend to know everything about it other than these people have addictions. These people, my friends, my neighbors, we are concerned as to what's going on. We don't like it. We have been to the first meeting. We've been to 2 meetings with Fresh Coast. And look at the group. I don't know how many are supporting it, but I know a number of the neighbors here are here. and we are not comfortable with it. And it seems like Fresh Coast came in under the wire, established themselves, and lo and behold, now they want to just take over. It reminds me of, I don't even want to go there, but it's like all of a sudden, we're drinking bad water. We don't have any say so. I just think it's selfish for this particular Fresh Coast facility to establish themselves in a neighborhood, buy up property for little or nothing, when we've got other abandoned buildings, we have other facilities in an area that's not going to subject themselves within a neighborhood. I think we just really need to realize the city, that all of the group here, I can speak for myself, but a lot of us are really concerned. And we hope you take our feelings and our emotions into consideration.
Thank you. Glenda Moore.
How do you get up and talk? I didn't fill one of them things out.
Hello, my name is Glenda Moore. I live at 1236 East Isabella, and I'm here to express to you that the line has been drawn in the sand as far as I'm concerned. I am not happy with the new situation that's coming into our neighborhood, something I'm not familiar with. And we've had several meetings with Fresh Coast, and they have been very hospitable to us. But it remains to be that there was a lack of transparency, and I feel that they came in unbeknownst to me and on false pretenses, actually. I like my neighborhood the way it is. I've lived there for 46 years. And I don't understand how I can buy a home and in good faith work and support that home, and then a committee or someone else come in and tell me that it's not going to be that way. And they don't even own the buildings or the property as of yet. So how can that be? How can you just take something from someone that already has it? I don't understand. There's been a lot of questions at these meetings, but I have yet to get the answers. We don't have any clear answers, and that's what we're looking for. And so please, leave our neighborhood the way it is, just like we're going to leave your neighborhood alone. So, thank you.
Bob Kuhn.
Hi. Hello. Some midgets have been. My name is Bob Kuhn. I live at 3080 West Sherman in Muskegon, Michigan. I've served this city for 35 years. I retired 11 years ago. I've served under 13 mayors and 5 city managers. I stumbled onto Fresh Coast Alliance quite by accident. My church was asked to go and make a meal for one of their meetings on a Friday night. We did so. I stayed and took part in some of the breakout sessions with the people that are participating. And I was really touched by how hungry these people are to get their lives put together. I've continued to be involved. I'm not a member of Fresh Coast Alliance. I'm not on their board. I'm not on the Kingdom Life Church Board, which is right next door, but I have been, on a number of occasions, meeting with the people that are participating. I think the fear in the neighborhood is just that. Fear is false evidence appearing real. I think there's some projections of what's going to happen, and I think they're misguided. We've been out there. We were there last Friday night till 1 o'clock in the morning for a prayer service. My wife and I walked the neighborhood, felt very safe. The other thing I think is, I believe in the long run, this will be a good investment for the neighborhood because the houses will be invested in. I heard the comments about my neighborhood. Let me tell you, I live next door to a VRBO. I have 8 to 10 new neighbors every week. So I know about that sort of thing. But I think that they're committed to the housing structures. They will keep them up. They will invest in their properties. And I believe that it will be beneficial to the neighborhood in the long run. I would personally like to see that the Sheldon Neighborhood Association get active. The dumpsters are already sponsored there at the Kingdom Life Church. And I believe there's more that both Kingdom Life Church and the Everson Avenue Baptist Church, I've met the new pastor there, they are committed to the neighborhood. So I want to say that's a positive, and I only speak by firsthand knowledge with the people that are involved in the program. I'm not part of the program. I'm just involved with coaching and encouraging. So I'm in favor of the rezoning.
Thanks, Bob. Good to see you. Beverly, is it level 2?
Hello, my name is Beverly Lavertu. I live at 977 Ada Avenue between Eastgate and Madison. I grew up on Madison and Laketon. I raised my children at Roberts and Evanston, and I am back in the neighborhood on Ada Street. I got a paper here. It says, Mayor Gowan, we're making a cleaner Muskegon. And I thought, how appropriate at this meeting come, I got a green paper here. I live in that neighborhood. I raised my children in our Redeemer. They went to school and kindergarten up through, I forget what grade, 6th grade or whatever. And it's the building that this church is in now. And as of September the 12th, there is no more our Redeemer Lutheran Church. They bought them. It was 75 years there. We have enough stabbings, shootings, robberies, people walking around my neighborhood with their drawers clear down underneath their hind end every day, which is disgusting. And we have children who live in our neighborhood. We don't need any more problems in the neighborhood for Sheldon Park. They're trying to clean it up, which I'm proud of what they've done and what they can do. But there are other places that they can build this unit and even build it bigger. There are several schools that have been closed. It would be a perfect place to do that. And I just feel that I'm speaking for my neighbors, stating that we don't want this there. I know the people are sick. They're probably sick, and they're felons or whatever, but there are other places that can be bought a lot cheaper and made into bigger medical facilities, if that's what they're calling them. And I appreciate all of you taking time to hear our thoughts on this. Some of them are very good. The thing of it is like I said, there's already too many raids, too many stabbings, too many. I got tonight, standing on my front porch, the neighbor down the street who's been raided several times and had shootings down there hollering, I need a weapon, I need a weapon. And I'm 5 houses from him and I can hear it already. You know, it's echoing through the neighborhood. They can't clean that mess up. What are we going to have with people who go in that hospital and if they don't like it, they can walk out at any time and go anywhere. And then they have no jobs. They have no money. What's going to happen? Are we going to be robbed? Are they going to break into our homes? That's the concern. This is not fear. This is actual concern of all the neighbors around us. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Delvina Shepherd.
My name is Delvina Shepherd. I live at 1439 Eastwood Drive, I'm sorry. I've lived in Muskegon all my life, 52 years to be exact. I've seen how Muskegon changed, how it's grown, how it's failed, how a lot of things, a lot of changes. And I'm concerned about the rezoning because the demographics of Sheldon Park neighborhood is not conducive to a medical care facility. If you look at it, we have, like, I can't remember, it's like 70-odd% single families, as far as single parent families. The rest of it pretty much makes up the elderly. That's not a place where you put a medical facility. I'm not saying there's not a need for it. People do need help, and I will be glad if they can be rehabilitated and reintroduced to society. But you can't put it in a neighborhood with those demographics. You cannot. Also, my husband retired from MDLC, West Shoreline. That building is available. It's been available for almost 11 years. It is in an area where the temptation to reoffend is pretty much null. It's zero. The temptation, putting a facility like that in a residential neighborhood, is too much temptation to reoffend. We already have marijuana dispensaries pretty much on every corner. We have liquor stores everywhere. Then you got 3 schools right behind the place where they proposed to build it. You have 3 elementary schools. I don't have elementary children, but I most certainly wouldn't want them walking out to see that facility and ask me, Mommy, what is that? It's just not conducive to the neighborhood. My concerns are not fears. I have done my research. I have looked into other places that has actually sued the city for putting in reentry houses, or how do you call them? Halfway houses. It's not a good fit. It's not a good fit for Sheldon Park. I hope you take my concerns into consideration and really think on it. Really think on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Cindy Lockhart.
Hello, my name's Cindy Lockhart, and I too am speaking on the rezoning of 1128 Roberts Street.
Can we have your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 1080 Green Street.
Thank you.
Sheldon Park residents have come together in unity to speak out against the rezoning of 1128 Roberts Street. We, the tax-paying, law-abiding citizens of Sheldon Park, should not be burdened or suffer any hardship of any kind, including the loss of resale market value on our homes due to the bad choices others have made in their lives. Our homes are our sanctuaries, and we have the right to feel safe and secure in our own homes. Our voices matter. Building a safe Muskegon starts in the neighborhood communities of Muskegon. How does housing ex-felons in a residential neighborhood community with seniors and families with small children make any neighborhood feel safe. What good is a booming downtown if you're neglecting the concerns of our neighborhoods? Their programs have been rejected in many other communities by those leaders in office for a reason. How can our city leaders turn a blind eye to the community most affected by this? This makes no sense at all. At the last commission meeting, Mr. Nate Johnson stated he had 6 homes operating in the neighborhood, with the 7th soon to be open. At 5 ex-felons in each home, that's 35 in the neighborhood right now. How much is too much? How and why has this not been regulated by our city leaders? They are putting some felons through the program and then giving them jobs to counsel new ones being released. No disrespect, but it's spreading like a disease and taking over our neighborhood. Would you welcome this to consume your own neighborhoods? The method and how they've been purchasing homes in our neighborhoods and having them transferred for use, and how they've used the face of a church as a front to accomplish their agenda, is unethical in my eyes. It is clear that most of those supporting this rezoning are connected with Fresh Coast Alliance and will benefit in one way or another. Honestly, this whole demographic has caused a severe mistrust in our city leaders and our Sheldon Park Association. Both have failed to inform the tax-paying residents of what has been occurring in our neighborhood regarding this matter. The rezoning of 1128 Robert Street and not regulating the additional influx of ex-felon housing would be a severe injustice to the community of Sheldon Park. I strongly oppose the rezoning. Please consider my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Hardiman.
Hello, my name is Alicia Hardiman. My address is 1051 Green Street, and I am a state of Michigan employee, and I work for the MDOC. And my concern when I first heard about this was that they were housing felons or ex-felons that's coming out of prison, that's coming out of prison, because the state doesn't publish our names, our addresses, or none of our demographics for a reason, because the prisoners they're felons, and they put hits out on us because of our positions in the facility. So being in that environment and walking my dog and having these places right around the corner from me, I feel my life is in jeopardy, because they can put my address back into the facility with gangs there, different gangs that's affiliated with what's going on out there. I know the people that run the facility, and Fresh Coast Alliance, Nate Johnson, he was housed in our facility. So, and I know the houses that's placed, and I just kind of stay away. The young lady that's across the street from the facility said that he threatened her and her husband and told her, I've been to prison. I'm not afraid to go back to prison. I said, you call the police and you make a police report. So she said she did that. We did a FOIA request to get that report. I don't know if that report came in or not. But if he's making threats against neighbors, saying he's not afraid to go back to prison.
We have to be careful about substantiated or unsubstantiated, second or third person stuff. But if we can stick to, specifically the topic of.
Okay, well, I don't know if we got the request or not, but a FOIA request was put in to get that. And I don't know if we got it or not. But anyway, I'm concerned for my life and my safety, and I don't want that those buildings put up. I'm concerned now about the houses that's there and the ex-felons that's there. And so now I'm being incognito and keeping myself safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your input. Willette Chambers.
Good evening. My name is Willette Chambers. My address is 1341 Ada. I have been in that community over 30 years. I was one of the youngest black females to build my own home in that neighborhood. I'm not against people getting help. I'm not against this, but there's more politics than this than people want to address. They need to address the politics of this. It's just not, oh, we're here to do this and we're here to help. There's always something behind something. And we just cannot keep turning an ear to it or a deaf ear to it. I live there. I have seen the neighborhood change completely out of 30 years. Our property value is steadily going down. You can sell a house like that. They're not taking care of the neighborhood. The people in there are not. You got rental properties. They say, watch Muskegon grow. Only thing that's growing, and I see the city commission of Muskegon is doing for their tourists and the people downtown. And you go down there, and they don't even live in our communities, but they enjoying the fruit of our taxes. And this is not right. And like I said, if people need help, I understand that. They came in here real low. I know the young man that started the whole program. Actually, I know him from where I used to work, where I retired from. Nothing personally against him, but like I said, this is politics. This is something that has taken the community from Apple Avenue all the way back pretty much to Evanston and beyond. And all I'm saying is our property value is steadily going down. You put that in the middle of a neighborhood that's already having things going on in it. Your property value and things are going down, and you put that there, and then there's no concern because it's fine because it's not me. I never said nobody. I have family that needed help. I never said the sources are not there. But let's not make this a game that we don't really understand what's going on. Like I said, this is politics. It's politics from the Our Redeemer Church all the way down there to Isabella and Robert Street. This is a takeover that you see just sprouting up into a community in the neighborhood. It ain't trees. We don't get the new houses. We're not getting anything to benefit that neighborhood in over 30 years. Mind you, not one thing, everything has been taken from us in that neighborhood. Nothing has been added. The city of Muskegon, the commission, nothing that they can say in their records that they did for that neighborhood. That they put in Sheldon Park. They finally put in some new swings and a slide at Sheldon Park. Over 30 years. The kids was riding and sliding on rust. They just did get another playground field, baseball field for the kids. And like I said, I think it's affecting the property value. I think the commissioners and the city of Muskegon need to do something for Sheldon and not do nothing for people to pocket their money and make it a politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda Pearson Grider.
My name is Brenda Frierson Grider, and I live at 1081 Green. And I've been there about 27 years. I got concerns. When I heard about all of this, I went around in the neighborhood because I wanted to know, did everybody know what was going on? And we walked around and talked to people. Didn't nobody know. They didn't know. And for that man to stand here and say that the neighborhood was on board, I can't understand how didn't nobody know. but we all on board. So I'm trying to figure out, how did we get here? When we went to the meetings, we felt threatened, but we went because we wanted to hear his side, put it out there, and they was brought up like, we are tribe. We do whatever Mr. Nate say. How would you feel? And I'm paying for my house and for my family to stay somewhere. And I got somebody telling me, if one person tell them to do something, they do what Mr. Nate say. Really? And then when we sitting there, one of the ladies that was with us, she was sitting like this. And he looked over, he said, you look like you look like you scared. And she said, I am. He said, oh, you ain't scared. You ain't scared. She said, well, how can you tell me if I'm scared or not? How can you tell me that? How can you tell me how I feel? It's just, the whole thing is just terrible. It's terrible. And ain't nobody, everybody in here, I'm quite sure, somewhere down the road, your family has been touched by an addict or something, or prison or whatever. We all got that. But yet it's still, we try to help our family, and if you're gonna do it, these builders, Angel, Rebel, over there where the hospital was, why it can't be there? That's all the room you need. You ain't gotta add on. You can do everything you need to do in that building. And we're not against anyone getting help. We're not against that. I'm for that. I'm against the duplexes that you want to put in there. You're going to change the whole atmosphere. We got a park where our kids go. We got 3 schools in that area. We got stores where you can buy alcohol. We got stores where you can buy weed or whatever you want to call it. What else we going to put there besides what you're trying to put there? What we going to do? We need to help these people. If you want to help them, think of somewhere where they can go and you won't be changing the residential. Why would you want to change our area from residential to something else? Who do that hurt? Who do that help? It don't help me. It hurts me. It hurts the value of my property. All these years I done put in, and it's steady going down, down, down. All I'm asking is that you consider our feelings about what's going on. And let's sit down and talk, because everything was up under the rug. Now it's coming out because I don't care. So we need to figure out another way to help these people if that's truly what it's all about. Thank you.
Joan Chittister.
Joan Chittister, 1236 McLaughlin Avenue, Muskegon, Michigan. I've lived in that neighborhood for 57 years, seen a lot of changes. Can't say they're the best changes, and I certainly don't see rezoning as a positive for our neighborhood. I agree wholeheartedly with the women that got up and spoke so well, truly concerned about our safety, and ask that you reconsider the rezoning and what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Morsfeld.
He just had to step out for a second. He'll be right back.
Okay. Patsy Petty.
Hello, my name is Patsy Petty. I live at 1131 Allen Avenue. What I wanted to make a comment on, this is wrong that this is happening. We shouldn't even have this kind of confusion going on. When we have, and my lady friend, would you please give me the numbers of the numbers and of the petitions that were signed? What was the number?
We have a petition of 361 signatures opposing.
Oh.
361 signatures opposing.
And is this information filed with the clerk?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, we have.
Registered deeds office. No, that.
Okay, we have this information filed, so all of these people here, they're here for something, and we have a concern that needs to be addressed and it needs to be looked at when you've got these many people are concerned. And they also said that no violent crime offenders, which was wrong. 2 gentlemen were convicted of murder, okay? And that spoke at one of those neighborhood meetings. And the facility will be operating 24 hours a day, not restricted. Okay? And no house in the neighborhood is comparable in size. And population density doesn't match. Hear these people. We're not saying everybody needs to be rehabbed. This is something we know. It has to be done. But don't do it on the backs of these people. Please don't do that. I'm asking every one of you to make that decision tonight, to listen to your constituents. Please do that. And then we can all come to some kind of agreement. There are a lot of places in this town that could accommodate this, but not in a residential neighborhood where we have our families and children and elderly people. And you put yourself in our shoes. If you walk in my shoes and live like, you can understand where we're coming from, and I hope you do the right thing.
Thanks, Nancy. Ron? Marcel?
Well, I ain't gonna say a whole heck of a lot. Okay, it's a lot bigger than it was last time I was up here. My main concern.
Can we get your address, please?
First of all.
Sir?
Yes?
Can we get your address, please?
Oh, 1254 Catherine.
Thank you.
Now, you all talk about these things being close to your house. Well, when they build them, they'll be about 20 feet from my house. Okay? Because I live on Catherine, and it's a dead-end street. And they want to put one of these, whatever you want to call them, right next door to me. Don't like that. Another thing is, I know the city has asked them to do this, and that's go around and check with the neighbors. Now, I live right next door, like I said, and nobody has ever come over to me and asked me what I thought. So, there's no transparency. Everything they've done has been under the cuff. Now, I've get people up here to talk about this street and that street and this street and that street, but let me tell you something on Catherine, it's a dead end. Y'all know that. So where do you go? You got 15 beds sitting right next door to you. I don't like it. Now, I had a chance to get on their committee, but hospitalization said can't do that night, so I didn't show up. But the reason I wanted to get on it, because I wanted to know what the hell they were doing. But I didn't do that. So I'm just up here telling you what they're doing basically is underhanded. They have not asked anybody in my community on Catherine. I've talked to maybe 20 neighbors. They have never been talked to. And the city's already asked them to do that, and they have never done it. So you can do what you want on the city council, and I respect your decisions. But what this is doing to this community is ridiculous. We're quiet. We're a quiet community. Nobody bothers us. On Catherine, I mean, you could hear a pin drop at 9 o'clock at night. I don't need that stuff running around my neighborhood. The parking lot's gonna be right next door to my house. Who's going in and out? I don't know. Am I armed? Damn right I am. And I don't wanna have to be. So I'm just telling you, you guys use your head. I know you're a bunch of good guys. I know half of you. And please don't let this happen because they're not transparent. They haven't talked to anybody or done anything to show what they want to do. Everything's been underhanded. So you folks make up your own mind. Thank you for all your people coming down here and backing us. But no, we don't need it in our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this issue of the rezoning at Roberts? At the back? Is that? No, go ahead, Diane. And this is on the Roberts property, correct? And then who is the next individual here? Oh, okay. And then our.
Hi, I'm Diane Foster, 135 Ottawa Street, Muskegon, Michigan. One of the things I wanted to say is what a neat, diverse neighborhood you all have. And how well you guys have come together for this situation. My thing is, after listening to this, because I had no idea that this one particular subject was going to come up, was the addiction problem. And 32 beds is never going to cut it in this city, in this county, and we have bigger buildings. I know we have better programs or can come up with a better program. And I'll tell you what, I'm getting ready to retire. I'd love nothing more than to help out with this program because it's one that needs constant assistance. I don't think I could say enough about the problems that addiction that coming out of prison can cause for families. They can't stay in a lane most of the time. They change lanes a lot. And they need guidance to stay in a lane so that they know where they're going. And I don't think that this neighborhood, under the circumstances, under its demographics, is what that kind of a program needs. It needs a much bigger, much better approach. That's all I really have to say about this. So, good luck with what happens in your neighborhood, but I hope the city commissioners and our law enforcement do know we have a bigger problem than 32 people. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Mr. Hilson?
Good evening. DJ Hilson, 1068 Dykstra Court. I've had the honor and privilege of serving Muskegon County in the prosecutor's office for over 20 years, the last 8 as the elected. I take my service to Muskegon County as a whole very seriously. And you know what I've experienced in the 20 plus years that I've been in the criminal justice system is that the criminal justice system certainly does some things right, but it certainly has failed on a lot of areas, including how we handle those that are battling these demons, these addictions, how they battle this. The criminal justice system, we can't arrest our way out of it. We certainly can't prosecute our way out of it. And what I've learned, certainly as the elected and dealing not only with Muskegon County, but working with organizations and people across the state of Michigan, is that we are lacking in a lot of things. And one thing that we are lacking in is inpatient treatment. I've been fighting for a number of years to get a facility here in Muskegon County because I think, as we do in a lot of things, I think Muskegon County can lead not only the state of Michigan, but the nation in inpatient services. I've seen it time and time again. And quite frankly, the battle that I have in my job in dealing with the folks that I deal with on a day in and day out basis is that we don't have that here in Muskegon County. We may have a few services here and there, but we don't have good, high quality inpatient treatment services. So I support anybody that's willing to stick their neck out in order to help those citizens that need that service. For my sake, we need something. And quite frankly, I think, and I didn't grow up here in Muskegon, I'm a Wisconsin boy. But I've been here long enough to really appreciate the history and what Muskegon has brought to its citizens. And what I found fascinating when I first got here is that Hackley Hospital is located right in the middle of a neighborhood. And believe me, folks, I know, and I know the chief knows, and the police department knows that when something really hits the fan, that area gets flooded pretty quickly. And I'm not suggesting for 1 second that that's going to happen at 1128 Roberts. In fact, I've worked with Fresh Coast on a number of initiatives, many of which you folks don't even know about, but have been done some great things in this community.
Please, folks, let's be respectful of the person who has the time speaking.
And certainly, listen, I got a lot of people that don't like me. There's no question about that. But I got a lot of people that love me.
Folks, please.
And certainly, like I said, I certainly respect any organization that is willing to stick their neck out and do what's right for those that need it. And again, the criminal justice system isn't going to solve this issue. It needs resources, and right now Muskegon County is lacking in that area, and this would be a well-added benefit to the community.
Diane, please.
So, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. I respect each and every one of you and what you do. And I'm, again, feel very blessed to be able to represent this community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other individuals that would like to speak on this issue? Ma'am here, and then you'll be second. Okay.
No.
Let's.
Hello, my name is Susan Terrell. I live at 1188 East Isabella, and I had said that I wasn't going to say anything. But however, at the last meeting that we held here, what I took away from that meeting, at the end of the meeting, you questioned Nate Johnson, and he became so agitated and angry at the questions and at the neighborhoods, telling him no. And that just didn't sit real well with me, because if his demeanor was like that, I felt like, what is the clients, how would their attitude be when they told them no? And then I was at the meeting at the school, and some of the clients that were in the meeting, they became angry and agitated at some of the comments that were made, and that just didn't sit well with me either, because when you tell them no, they become very offensive. And then at the last meeting that we held at the school, Nate Johnson, and I think this other man's name was Joe, I'm not real sure. However, they said that we run a tight shift with these houses. We have 6 houses in the area already, and then there's another 7th coming up. They said we run a tight ship, and they said that we have 24/7 supervision. We even have surveillance cameras. But when question came up, you have 24/7 supervision? He says, well, we have someone there at night. And I kind of just looked, I'm like, someone there just at night, but you run a tight shift? And then they want to build 2 more houses housing 15 men and 15 women, and you don't have the proper supervision for the homes that you have right now. That's just not right. They're not ready for it. They're just not ready to add additional homes, or the organization is they're just not together yet. And there were some other things I wanted to say, but I forgot them. But I just says, no, not in our neighborhood. And there's 2 daycare facilities right there in that same block. And that's just not a good location. And like others once said, there's the drugs facilities where you can buy recreational drugs steps away from this facility. Then steps away from this facility, there's an alcohol store, liquor store. And it's just not, it's just like, to me, it's just like dangling candy in front of a kid, putting it right there in the midst of these other facilities that we already have in our community. Again, thank you.
Hi, my name is Lois Adams. I live 1128 Robert Street, directly across from one of the lots that they are planning on building these buildings at. My thing is, I just moved up here. It's almost 2 years. And not one time has anybody from that facility ever welcomed me to the neighborhood. You know, I'm in a beautiful neighborhood. I got two real good people on each side of me, residents, that the minute I started bringing my stuff in and moving my stuff, the guy came out to me and he says, "Welcome to the neighborhood. If you need any help with everything, I'm here for you." I had a young lady and her little girl on the other side of me. Go get your locks changed because the people there are trying to get in your house. They used to live there. It's been July the 14th of this year. In order to talk to somebody from that building to know what was going on at that place, I assumed it was just a church, because that's all it is. It's just a church. It took July of this year, the 14th. I had some trees taken down in my backyard for one of the co-workers that works at that facility to come over by me and ask me, "Wow, you're doing such a great job with that house. Windows were done last year." Everybody over there was standing out. A lot of people that are there, workers, patients, whatever they are, were out there, standing there watching my guys put in my windows. Still, not one person came over and introduced themselves to me. I talked to this lady. She introduced herself, I introduced mine. She took me through the facility because I brought up about this letter. Then she told me she was going to talk to her boss. That's when I met Joe. He came over and talked to me, told me what the facility was. I'm all for programs. I grew up in Illinois. Now, we can say in this room that Chicago, Illinois ain't bad. It is bad. I found my sisters went to school with one guy that because the system wouldn't take him no more, he was laying by the curb dead from overdosing. My thing is with me, to make this short, I don't want the buildings living across the street from me because I'm directly across one of those aisles, one of those lots. And it sads to me because I like to open up my door. I like to keep my shades open. I don't need these people coming and bothering me. I go to pick up my son 10:30 at night. Do you think I want to step out my door being like this to make sure nobody's around? No. I know what drugs and alcohol can do. And do I thank Joe for the help that he's giving? Yeah, I thank him. They just don't need to live across the street from my house. You know, I even asked him, why don't you build some parks? A lot of kids, you know. Oh, I'm going to do that by the church down on Apple and Roberts.
Call time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One, two. Can I just have something real quick? Yeah.
I know, don't get me started. My name's Robert Haynes. I live at 1286 Catherine, and I'm a veteran, and I used to be a mentor. I used to help a lot of people through the VA and get them on their feet. Exactly, downtown Muskegon at the vet center, and we turned over a lot of people. But I tell you what, you can't help everybody. Now, in my neighborhood that I live in, I tried to mentor a lot of those guys too. I had to put a fence up in the alley because I'm just 3 houses down, 2 away from my neighbor. When they started defecating on my fence, pissing on my fence, and I've helped them, I enabled them. I gave them every God's grace that I ever could. But when I had some guy come in trying to get in my house after I had given him food, it's almost like there's certain dogs you can't feed because they come back all the time. No matter how good you do, or try to even give them something, they need treatment. They need care. But they have shelter.
Folks, let's.
But anyways, moving
let's let
on.
the individual up here speak, and let's keep the.
I was going to get to that. Is that I agree with some of the people in here. We don't need it in a community neighborhood with children and family. It's too close. No matter how we enable them, feed them, clothe them, treat them, or even preach religion to them, it's hard for us to enable them when some people just don't get it. So back to what I'm saying is that it's frustrating in my neighborhood. I've been there going on over 20 years. And I've had people help rake, do things, everything for them, but the times have changed so much due to the drugs and the lack of rehab. And I've even had my own family member get involved in that. It's a tough issue to lick. But I don't think a facility in that neighborhood, it isn't a church, it's not big enough for them. And when they're not in there, they're wandering around. And when they started defecating and doing things around my neighborhood, that's when I said it shouldn't be there. Because I have grandkids, I have other kids there, I have neighborhood kids, I have a neighbor here that has a home there too. And it's consistently, I leave my garage door open, I don't even do it anymore. Because I find them in there, they're picking up the cans. And I don't threaten anybody, I don't hurt them, but I just ask them to stay out of my yard. So now I got to be more like I was in Vietnam, and the Marines have to night guard my house, patrol the shit, and take care of it because there ain't nobody here understanding that they need their own building, their own place, and get out of the residential area. Thank you.
Elise Elzinga, 81 Hamilton, Muskegon. I work in the criminal justice system in my profession as well as the child welfare. And I think we can all recognize that addiction and drugs is a real problem in Muskegon County. And I think that I work with individuals that are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters here that really are trying to get help for themselves. And we just don't have the facility. There is a lot of research that if you stay within your own community to get that help, if you have kids in the foster system but can still stay connected to them, you have a better chance of reunifying. You have a better chance of success. So I do understand the neighborhood concerns, but I am asking you to take the considerations of the needs of our community, which are very real, into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Gunderson. I live at 506 West Muskegon Avenue. I also work within the criminal justice system. I'm a licensed social worker, and I do a lot of case management. And I think the key piece that a lot of people don't understand is that with treatment comes different levels of care. And so there are people who qualify for inpatient facilities, and there are short-term and long-term facilities. What we are in dire need in Muskegon is a short-term facility. I have clients who qualify for this level of care, and I cannot place them anywhere. I have clients who qualify for longer levels of care, and I have to refer them out. The farthest place, actually the closest place for women on Medicaid is in Detroit. So I am removing them from their community, from their home, from their family, from their children, so they can get the help that they need. And what I desperately want in Muskegon is a place for them to go, because I don't have personal experience, but the overarching theme I hear from my clients who are in recovery and from people who are out of it is that the opposite of addiction is connection. And how are we supposed to form a connection if we are moving people somewhere else? How are they supposed to come into their community and feel welcome and feel supported and get back to the normal life that they want?
Folks, please.
And I hear the frustrations, but I also hear the frustrations of my clients who desperately want recovery and don't know where to go. So I just ask that you take them
Folks, please.
into consideration.
We have a guest up here who deserves as much respect as anybody else who wasn't being talked over.
Thank you. But really, that's it. I really want you to think about that phrase. The opposite of addiction is connection. And I want Muskegon to take care of its own. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kwame James of 2076 Minor. I hear the neighbors from this community, and I really empathize with the concern that the project from Fresh Coast Alliance can be represented as having the support of the neighborhood when so many neighbors are apparently less than supportive. And I think that we have, I think this is emblematic of something that happens in Muskegon too often, that we have people with projects, people with ideas, and good ideas, who feel like their idea is worth pursuing, but don't have the support of the community that they think they do. And so there's some sort of disconnect in our capacity to really judge how much support we have for the ideas that we advance in our community. Like, we're not communicating with each other effectively. And I don't know what the cure is for that besides more communication. But I understand that achieving that isn't as easy as just waving a wand. I understand that efforts at communication are often disregarded until decision time. I understand that efforts at communication are often more subtle and perhaps go unnoticed than people who feel like they've made their reasonable efforts at communication are satisfied that they did their part, but then maybe people didn't really notice that there was an issue at stake at all. So I don't know how to do it, but we got to do it. Got to communicate better.
Thank you, Kwame. Sir, please.
Hi, my name's Jason Carlson. I'm the parole manager for the Michigan Department of Corrections here in Muskegon. I live at 8351 Flower Creek Road. I know I cannot sit here and I empathize with the neighborhood, and I'm not sitting here trying to change anybody's mind. All I can do is talk about my experience in Muskegon for the last 30 years. We're in desperate need of rehab in Muskegon. For my whole career, we've been sending people to Grand Rapids, Detroit, Holland, and Traverse City. There is a real need to have rehab here in the city. I know that doesn't mean our neighborhood necessarily, but this is a couple of points I just wanted to make. One thing, I've been very involved with Fresh Coast since they've started, and I have seen nothing but professionalism through my office and how they've worked with us. I have seen lives change through their organization. I have also seen that their funding comes from private donors. It is not government funded. And I think that's important to know, because they are responsible to a board and to a group of people that are keeping watch on what's going on. And their mission statement, they follow very well, trying to help people through the love of Christ. And I think a lot of us in this room can understand that. I will say that these people that are going to come to this rehab is not somebody that's forced to go there. And to me, that's a big difference. I have worked at 25 East Broadway Street, which was Touchstone. I worked at KPEP. I've worked at 985 East Barney when it was the Correction Center. I work there right now with KPEP. And there's a big difference when people are forced to go someplace. Those are the people you have that leave. They abscond and they take off. When somebody needs help and they're coming to an organization for help, it's a big difference. And this is the way that Fresh Coast operates. They do not take people that don't want help. And I've listened to these people talk, and I agree with 90% of them. If someone comes for help, I think as a community, and I love this city dearly, I've had many chances to leave. I will not leave West Michigan because I love Muskegon. I love working here. And I think that we have a organization that has just done very well the last 5 years and has made changes, and I support Fresh Coast in this adventure. So all I have to say, thank you.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Greg Fry. I stay at 1466 Eastwood Drive. It's hard to sit here and not say nothing. It's like you guys don't understand what's being said. Nobody is denying them help. They just put it somewhere else where they can, get proper treatment or have the proper building built. It's not suitable where they're saying. Y'all don't understand that. It's always easy when somebody else getting screwed or when y'all screwing somebody else. Now, if they were screwing y'all would be up here talking. So why can't y'all understand this, man? Why can't nobody understand this? Nobody's saying don't help nobody. All they saying is, put it somewhere else. There's other buildings out there, man, that y'all can do this stuff at, man. Quit hurting peoples. Like you say, everything's politics, man. Somebody making money up here, Somebody making money, somebody's getting paid, all this crap out, they need help. Yeah, everybody need help. We need help. But let's give people that need help a place in a building where it's not hurting nobody. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't have no kids where I'm at, but if y'all put this stuff up and somebody hurt my family member because something that you guys did, it ain't going to be nice, man. Don't nobody want to be hurt like that. So why can't y'all see that? What's so hard about it? Give the people the help they need. They need to be recovered or whatever need their help. Give them Hagley Hospital. Give them some other building. Don't hurt these people that care that, I don't want my house to drop in price neither. you know. So, I mean, what's the problem? What is this problem, man? You know, what is the problem? I don't see it. And that's common sense, man. That's common sense. Come on, we all know that, man. So, you know, quit pocketing. If you're pocketing, quit pocketing all the time. Sometimes you just can't take the money. All money is not good money.
Nobody's pocketing anything.
All right? You can't. Sometimes you can't.
Nobody's pocketing anything.
I'm not saying, hey, if the shoe
And
fit
that's
well,
why we're having the public speaking right now.
all
I've
I'm
been
saying, like
tabled
Judge
several
Judy
times.
say, if it's quack like a duck, walk like a duck, it's a duck. Okay? So all I'm saying is understand what people's telling y'all, man. You know, common sense. You know, give them the help, but give them some place where it's not hurting other people. That's all I'm saying, man. You
And
know,
that's why we're here to listen.
that's all I'm
and
saying.
we have been for
you know,
several
and
months. So.
I'm quite sure we all feel the same. Put them somewhere else. Don't do that. I mean, it's hard to sit here, man, and not say nothing. God, 'cause I said I wasn't gonna say nothing. I told my Brenda I wasn't gonna say nothing. But you can't do this to people, man. And then get up in the morning and call yourself a Christian or call yourself anything.
All right, thank you.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
Sir, please.
My name's Greg Balcom. I live at 150 East Daniels. I don't live in the city of Muskegon, but I live in the county of Muskegon. And to me, that's a bigger picture type thing. You know, I work for the MDOC, so I firsthand see the nastiness that can happen if nothing changes. You know, if we take a look in ourselves, you know, we can recognize that we've changed over the years, whether it's 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, however long it's been that you've been on this world. If we don't do anything in our community, things will get worse. You know, we can look at downtown and we've supported what causes fun. We've supported dispensaries. We've supported alcohol establishments. We've supported tourism. But those things also bring a negative aspect, an aspect that we need to address, and that is addiction. A lot of us have addictions that we refuse to recognize and acknowledge. If we do nothing, nothing changes. One of the things that I've heard about tonight is, you know, the crime and the violence and what happens if we bring this in. Well, I can tell you what's going to happen if we don't. Okay, if we don't do anything, things will get worse. These violent crimes that are being mentioned, they may or may not be happening. The fact of the matter is, if we bring these services to our community, we can affect change in a positive manner. We look at KPEP, for example.
Folks, please.
We look at KPEP, for example. I've worked there. Okay, I've found weapons. I've found drugs. I've been assaulted, and I've watched people be assaulted. Now, again, as my friends have said, these things happen for when people are required to be at a specific place. At Fresh Coast Alliance, I've invested much of my time over there to watch transformation happen. I've seen addicts become recovery coaches and actually change the community for the better. Now, I understand a lot of the issue is where this is located or what the zoning may be. And I understand that, I empathize with that, and I can't say much on that because I don't live here. But I can say, if we invest our time and not our fear, we can make that difference, okay? If we invest our souls and our hearts and what our intentions are, we can make that difference. Guys at Fresh Coast are there voluntarily because they want a change, okay? Everybody in this room wants a change. They don't want it where they live. However, if you engage in change, you will be better. You're the addict that engages in the change. You could be the next CEO of a company. You don't know. So I encourage you all to undergo this difficult task of trying to make everybody happy. We know that's not going to happen. But again, I encourage you guys to consider all that's being said and consider what happens if we don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address this topic? Behind the pillar.
She's been up there.
Cassie, one final follow-up, and then we'll go on to anybody else that hasn't spoke.
I just wanted just some information. I'd like you to take a copy of this. This is the breaking and enters and business stolen vehicles, weapons offense. This is the latest stats on that. And I would like to, if someone could, the secretary or the clerk could take a copy of this and pass it to all of everybody here so they can take a look up at the actual stats on it. For Sheldon Park. And I want to say, I've been having incidents over where I live at, and I've been calling in to the police when I see suspicious activity. I've called in twice where I see cars and I know what's going on. I'm not stupid. And like I say, everybody here, we need this.
Patsy, address
We need
address
it.
the address
We
the front,
need it.
please.
We need this. We need this in our community. 30 beds is not going to do it. We need 500 beds. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. So let's have a meeting of minds to where we can come up with something agreeable. Yes, please have it. Please have a facility like this, please, and make it bigger and better to accommodate everybody. Let's work together.
Hold on, please.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who has not addressed the commission yet that would like to make comment on the rezoning at Roberts? Then I would open up comment to any other of the agenda items tonight. If you have any comment on any one of the other agenda items before we move on. Okay. That brings us
On a different topic?
Is this a different topic? Okay, please. And as long as it's on the agenda.
Thank you. Again, Kwame James, 2076 minor. And very briefly, regarding the change to the solid waste ordinance, I am only going to ask, and I know you can't necessarily answer right now, but ask what consideration has been given for the sort of hardship that it might entail for residents to build fences to hide garbage cans, or to relocate garbage cans extra distance in order to comply with the new recommendations. I understand that winter is hard in a number of ways and is almost upon us, alas. And so I'm curious as to how much thought has been given to the imposition that it's going to represent for a lot of people in Muskegon. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwame. Diane, is this on another topic? Yeah. Okay, please come on up. Okay.
Diane Foster, 135 Ottawa Street, Muskegon, Michigan. I'm here in regards to the deer hunting. I have a problem about this. I need to understand it better, and why we're doing it in the city limits. Because whose idea is this? Where are we hunting with bows and arrows and crossbows in our city? Someone tell me a little more about this, because I'm really concerned.
Right. I'm sure we'll
Why
get,
we would even consider it when we already have enough problems with things. So I'm just want to know, where are we with this hunting in the city ordinance?
it'll probably come up for discussion.
Pardon?
It'll probably come up for discussion, Diane. We'll take your question.
Well, they asked, and I have a problem with it. I also think I have a pretty good chunk of property that I need to know if that's going to be part of this, or any property near my property. So, and I seen that the country club was one of them too, so I wasn't really sure exactly why we're hunting in our city. Thank you.
Okay. Steve, Mr. Benedict, did you want to make a comment?
Stephen Benedict, 2290 South Hilltop, Norton Shores, Michigan. For you, those of you guys that don't know me, I own about $7 million of real estate here in the city of Muskegon, $11 million in Muskegon County. And I can tell you that I have 13 houses within a 4-block radius of where this is proposed. And my tenants have all been there 10 plus years. I never even knew it was operating. And a little history about me. I committed a pretty violent crime when I was 15 years old. And if there wasn't a program like this, I wouldn't have survived. And we didn't have one here locally. And I went to Boys Town in Nebraska at the cost of you taxpayers. And I can't thank God and the court system enough for giving me a second chance. Because if I was an adult, I would have never been coming home. And I just want to say, I think what Nate's doing, he was a couple years ahead of me in high school, was great for the community. And little do you guys know, I'm not going to disclose any addresses, but you already have Michigan Department of Corrections reentry offenders in your neighborhood. Let me speak.
Hold on.
They change over every 3 months. Their parole officers come to my, but you can't identify those houses. All I'm asking, all I'm asking is that everyone gives this thing a chance. And unfortunately, like I said, it takes a community to get these people back in the neighborhood. Not to mention,
folks, our guest has the podium. Let's speak.
Not to mention, I also did a sex offender registry, and I'll also let you know, within 2 square blocks of this community, there's 17 sex offenders living. All right. So again, let's just give them a chance and see where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on any one of the agenda items at this time? If not, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity, having received the consent agenda, to make any reviews. Are there any items you wish to have removed for further consideration? Commissioner German.
Yes, item G.
Anything, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Seibenga? Anything, Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, B and F.
B and F. Are there any others? I'd entertain a motion for adoption minus those items. Commissioner Seibenga.
Mayor, we were going to remove A
Oh,
from consideration right now.
I thought that was removed altogether.
Did you already remove it? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Which one? A. That was removed
It's
altogether.
been removed.
What's it? A. The minutes. Approval of the minutes. I move to approve the consent agenda minus item B, F, and G.
support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Seibenga, supported by Commissioner Ramsey, to accept the consent agenda minus item B, F, and G. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Galvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Rinsima-Sibiga,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery, absent, Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I believe item B is Commissioner Johnson, correct?
I move to amend and adopt Chapter 70, Article 2, Section 31A of the Code of Ordinances for Solid Waste.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner German to amend and adopt Chapter 70, Article 2, Section 31A of the Code of Ordinances for Solid Waste. Commissioner Johnson.
Oh, B, F. Wait a minute.
Really, my reservation with regard to this is the requiring that the refuse
And this is
carts
yeah.
be stored at least 10 feet behind the front of the residence or otherwise screened in. Given the feedback I've been receiving from residents as well as observing residents, as I've gone around town, I've noticed that a good number of people, this would be a considerable hindrance for a good number of houses in our city, that they store their cart tucked right up against the house or right behind the line, and it seems unobtrusive. I realize aesthetics is subjective. Some people might find it really objectionable. Others are okay with it. But what I have observed and what I've heard is that this would be an inconvenience and a hindrance for a lot of folks, particularly in the wintertime, and for many of our seniors that have to store them, around the back of the house, and it's just a burden, and it seems like an unnecessary burden. So I'm wondering if we might be able to re-examine where we locate them, or instead of using an ordinance to require them to be, at least 10 feet behind the front of the property line and or screened in, is if we then provide support and connection to resources to help residents screen them in, so that we are using, I guess, more of a carrot than a stick to accomplish the same means. I know one of our residents, an active member of the Lakeside community, Mr. Staple, had offered help to residents to screen in, and so he would get, assemble these wooden panels to screen them. They look nice. So if there may be opportunities to empower our residents to pursue such initiatives rather than using the stick of an ordinance to require it. And so those are my reservations with regard to this ordinance amendment as presented currently.
Commissioner Rinsman-Savinga.
So what's your suggestion?
We could revise the language, or I'll just shoot this down altogether. So my suggestion is using a stick or using a carrot versus a stick, or revising this language of this, because as written, it is not ideal.
I guess I have a follow-up question for the chief. I mean, something similar has been in place. I don't know if it like this, but I mean, the idea is to get the cart away from the curb.
Right.
So, I think we need something to that effect. I find it somewhat irritating when my neighbors leave their cart for 4 days. I just, that's my take on it. So so it seems like that's the impetus for this particular language, is to move it at 10 feet. So I guess my question to the chief is how would we enforce this, and what, I mean, there's carrots and there's sticks. We have an ordinance that you're supposed to clear your sidewalk of snow, but that's not really enforceable. So I'm wondering what the chief would say about how we plan to, deal with this.
Well, actually, DPW should be here because the police department, we're not going to enforce this. It's going to be through DPW. They're the ones that are going to, work with the citizens and actually send them letters or whatever, warn them. And then if their citation was going to be issued, it would come out of DPW, not inspections of the police department. That's the last discussion I had, that there would not be police action on your garbage containers. Does that help you any?
Somewhat, although I don't clearly understand what they're going to do, but.
Well, it's like any department. One of our department members can issue what they call like a civil infraction, what we call a municipal civil infraction. One is an inner city ticket. The other one is actually a state ticket. And so a lot of times up in Safe Built, when we try to enforce our ordinances, we'll issue what we call MCIs. It's a city ticket that carries a fine of $100, $250, or $500. A lot of times, if the problem is rectified, the ticket will be voided and it does not go to court. That's how we've dealt with what we call the MCIs. Then if we have a person that continually violates the city ordinance, such as this, and becomes like a real problem or like citizen complaint based, we can always turn to what we call a civil infraction, which is a ticket that would go to court. The person could face going in front of a magistrate to either be found responsible or not responsible in an informal hearing.
Yes. Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Okay, the language on the amendment basically says 10 feet behind the front of the house, or what are we
Front
talking about?
face. So I would assume it's the facade or whatever is the part of the
front
structure that is the closest to the curb.
the most forward part.
It has to be 10
Okay.
feet back from that.
And that could be placed on the side of the house. Is this correct?
Right.
Okay. So that's not bad. Okay. I just wanted to get that clear.
Okay. Commissioner Ramsey.
Hi, thank you. I don't want to belabor this. I want to thank Commissioner Johnson for bringing it up. I also want to remind him and everyone in the room that winter is a terrible time for everyone in garbage cans, regardless of your age. They are terrible to maneuver through the snow, especially off the sidewalk. However, having said that, I don't want us to put out a narrative that people have to screen their garbage cans. My name is Michael Ramsey. I live at 1669 Peck Street, and I do not screen my garbage can. I can manage to get it 10 feet back from the front of my house because it sits in the back of my house. But I don't want there to be some sort of propagation about how we have to have things screened or that it's going to cost people money. 10 feet is not a whole lot of distance, and we all have opportunity with that. If we're really looking at elderly access to this ordinance that will not be, thankfully, a police action, which is something weird, then maybe there are some resources there that we can speak to our friends who provide senior resources within our community. But I don't see there being a lot of language that needs to be rewritten unless we can make it very simple. Like if we were all okay with saying that, the garbage can needs to be tucked next to your home, but not on the front facade, right? So not on the front facing, but next to your home. I'm okay with that. We don't want the damn things on the street. That's the problem. And so just get them off the street and whatever that is. But I don't want this to become a thing where we're making mountains out of molehills.
Deputy Manager, did you want to input?
Sorry, I was out in the hallway and I didn't hear that this was the item that was coming up, so I apologize for coming up here late. So the rationale was, one of our former employees put it this way to me. When people are driving down the street, we don't want them to see the garbage cans. So when you're driving down the street, you're not driving down the street with your head turned 90 degrees. You're looking forward and you have a cone of vision. So we're just really trying to make our city look nice. This is a result of input we received when we were talking about rezoning, and we heard a lot of people complaining about what happens with rental properties, that they leave their garbage out. And so this came out of those conversations. Mm-hmm. The 10 feet behind the front face of the house coincides with other guidance that we have for storing other things in your house. And so that was the rationale for choosing that. It coincides with other things that we do, so it's a little bit more common for people. And we talked before about screening that can take different forms. I'm not expecting enclosures to be built around garbage cans, really just to make sure that our neighborhoods are looking tidy.
And again, one of the big reasons we're here is because a lot of this was citizen driven because
Correct.
of the magnitude of the issue, even in my neighborhood
Mine
with
too.
6 of each one of the different types of totes continually on the street forever. Commissioner Sherman and then Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, yes. So, Deputy Director, are you saying that it has to be removed and it can be placed on the side of the house?
Absolutely.
At least 10 feet.
Correct.
Because I know this was a major issue in
my ward as well. And I went out and walked around, talked with some of the citizens, and just got observing these trash bins were out there sometimes weeks. You know, it is definitely not a pleasant sight.
No.
It's a hazardous, you know, situation when, you know, just sitting out there inhaling fumes or the smell of trash. And
Blowing around in the wind.
exactly. So, to Commissioner Ramsey's point, when we talk about senior citizens, I don't know how we can kind of dictate that. Um, Maybe just, you know, being a friendly neighbor or a resident, you know, to go out and, hey, remove that trash can off the curb. I know I do it for my mother and my grandmother, and I have done it for others. So, but definitely something needs to be enforced.
Commissioner Johnson and then Commissioner Emery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our fellow Commissioner Ramsey said, let's not make a mountain out of a molehill here, but that's exactly what this amendment is doing. So our citizens had reached out to us to impart their concerns about these trash bins remaining on the terrace or on the curb or in the street for days on end. And so that's what the impetus of this and the policies that we've adopted previously came from. And so what that could boil down to is simply enforcing the ordinances that we have on the books already, which is that you are supposed to remove your bins from the terrace and the curb, not leave them there for days on end. It does not necessitate putting them at least 10 feet behind the front of your house or screening them in to achieve what our citizens were advocating for and wanting. We can do that within the framework of the current ordinance. If we want to revise the language to try to say, well, it needs to be tucked up next to the house, you know, let's explore that. But I've heard from residents and seen residences where it is a burden to, there's not the space to accommodate this, 10 feet behind their house. It's some unique situations. So I don't want to move forward with this language as is. It seems burdensome on our residents, and the same person that our deputy manager referenced in terms of the vision, the cone of vision that you're going down the road, that particularly encapsulates the terrace and the sidewalks. So if you've got them tucked back, that's not in your cone of vision as you're driving down the road. But the primary concern we heard was them leaving them on the curbs or on the terrace for days on end and overflowing too. That is a problem, and our policy addressed that. And it's a matter about enforcement of what we currently have. So it just feels like we are overstepping a little bit or trying to overcorrect on this particular language being adopted in an ordinance, which then makes it potentially enforceable with tickets. And it just seems a little bit too far for me.
Well, we're in the spot where we are sometimes. I mean, I don't know if we're going to negotiate this right here. It probably doesn't seem like a good idea because I don't know what a good compromise is. I don't know if you reached out to anybody, Commissioner Johnson, with any of these concerns and tried to come up with some language ahead of this meeting so we could solve it, but apparently not. So I'd say if we are at an impasse, we should table it and would await some, suggestions from staff or from the commissioners who have some questions about this so that we can come up with some language that's agreeable. I think we do seem to agree that we want to have the toters move from the curb. So there's got to be a way to do that. Maybe this isn't the perfect sentence. I don't know if there is a perfect sentence for everybody in the city, but I suppose we can try, but we need to, put it out there so that we can consider it well with, other people's input before we pass it. So I think this has been a long meeting. I think we should table this.
Commissioner Ramsey.
In an effort to not belabor this, I do have some perfect language. I would like the ordinance to say that to have the toter tucked behind the most front facing facade of your home, off the street, whatever it is. I agree with Commissioner Johnson. I agree with Commissioner Seibinga. I agree with Commissioner Hood. Change the language and it's great, and enforce what we have. I mean, really is that big of a deal?
Am I hearing you just say remove the word 10 feet.
Yeah,
that's what.
literally, just tuck it behind the like. If this is your front, most front corner of your, just tuck it away.
I move to amend the amendment to remove the words 10 feet behind the front face of the residence or in a screen location.
Second.
Support you.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by the Vice Mayor, to amend the motion to remove reference to the 10 feet, and it must be removed behind the front face of the residence.
No, I'm just removing the language 10 feet behind the front face of the residence or in a screen location. So the underlying motion, if it gets amended, would be mixed refuse collection carts shall be removed by the owner and occupant of the residential unit not later than 7 a.m. of the day after the collection day and stored in a discrete location.
I'll just point out that that's not what I said. I said remove the word 10 feet.
Yeah, I
didn't say
support.
remove that, all
No, I would support remove 10 feet because I want it to be behind the frontmost facing portion of the house.
My amendment language stands.
So will my vote.
So I heard a couple different support, so I don't know.
Commissioner?
Could someone read the amended motion again?
So it would be mixed refuse.
Could I have the clerk read it?
I'd made the motion.
Well, someone had to record it so that we can make sure that it's correct in the minutes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have my motion written down? Or would you like me to read it to you?
Just a second. I didn't get it neither. Yeah,
I'll read it to you, Madam Clerk.
Sorry.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Mixed refuse collection carts shall be removed by the owner and occupant of the residential unit not later than 7 a.m. of the day after the collection day and stored in a discrete location.
Commissioner Misavenka?
I mean, I guess I don't know what a discrete location is.
That'd be somewhat subject, but it would not be in the middle of your front yard. It would not be on the terrace. It would not be in the middle of your driveway. A discrete location, meaning unobtrusive next to your house. But if we want to refine language for that, I welcome it. But I'm cool with voting this down and bringing it back later.
Case in point, it is subjective, so let's say tuck it by the front face so that it's not subjective. But I totally get what you're saying. But discrete location is subjective. I would like clarifying language that says behind the front face of the residence. No feet, no screen.
Just off the front of the house.
No, just, tuck it. It's been a long night already.
Yeah. And why not tuck it next to right up to the house? Whether it's right to the front face or to the side of the house. Both are discrete.
Subjective. Just getting to be.
Just off the front of the house. There's no feet enumerated there. It seems rather simple, but it gives some direction because discrete. What does that mean? Yeah. But if we say off the corner of the house, then we all know what we're talking about. And again, this was citizen driven.
And to enforce a current ordinance.
We have other things that say you should have other things 10 feet behind the front of your house.
Those are what?
That's what the deputy director said.
Things like recreational vehicles and boats and things like that. So other things that would make the front of your house maybe less attractive.
I think the general idea is to try and get them 10 feet back. I don't have a feeling we're trying to get to this so that we can get out there with measuring tapes and get people, 10 feet. I think that probably would be the best suggestion. I think it would be nice if people took the effort to try and get it 10 feet back. So I'm not sure, what we should do about this. I don't know what the status of the amendment. I mean, I guess we have one. Was it seconded?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I personally think that the current amendment is unsatisfactory. And I guess I would encourage us to just table it and discuss this later, because it seems more complicated, and it always is. So I just think trying to do this right here, right now, may not be the best process.
Is that a motion?
I would move to table.
Support.
Don't we have a motion?
Oh, we already have a motion on the table.
Table rules. Or no, I don't know.
It does.
Hey, yes.
If there's an
Table will take
amendment
priority.
to.
Nope.
No, if there's a motion.
We have a motion to table presented by Commissioner Muskegon, seconded by Commissioner Ramsey. There's no discussion.
Correct.
Roll call, please, on the motion to table.
I'm going to ask John to help us.
Can we get clarity from legal counsel that when you have an amendment to the amendment, can it be tabled at that moment, or do you have to deal with that amendment to the amendment first before it can be tabled? So when it gets brought back from the table, the first thing that will be addressed will be the amendment to the amendment.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to get confirmation.
I think the clerk and I can talk about that later. The answer to the mayor's question is this takes priority over both the underlying motion and the amendment.
Okay, just want to get clarification. Thank you.
Roll call, please, on the motion to table.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Muskegon,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Sure, yes.
Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And Commissioner Johnson, item F, I believe, correct?
Thank you.
This moment, Mr. Mayor. We move to amend Chapter 6 of the City Code of Ordinances with the addition of Section 19.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Muskegon, to amend Chapter 6 of the City Code of Ordinance with addition of Section 19 referencing deer hunting ordinance.
Hi, Director Evans. How are you?
Good evening. I'm very well. Thank you for having me tonight.
Want to just kind of report out on this?
Sure. We discussed this at the work session meeting this month. Went back through and listened to that discussion. I did not take away any corrections or changes that were really desired as a part of that discussion. So what you have before you is the exact same ordinance language and documents that were presented at that time. If adopted, this proposal would allow limited archery hunting options within the city of Muskegon. Those would be for deer, obviously. They would be on parcels at least 5 acres in size. Any parcels considered for deer hunting would have to come to the commission and be approved at this level before that could happen. It could happen on public property or private property under the ordinance. There are very few parcels that meet that threshold throughout most of the city. I think we discussed a handful of them in the west end of town where this seems to be the most concerning topic would be the country club, maybe the former Sappy site, Doc's property, with the remainder of those being publicly held park properties. So with that, that's really about all I have. You know, it's a blend of some ordinances that we took from Norton Shores and Montague. It's kind of brought here as an alternative to a cull, which we pursued 2 years ago. At the time when we presented the cull, we discussed hunting as an option, and it was really, there wasn't an appetite for it at that time. The DNR wildlife biologist for the area, we met with him several times throughout that cull process. The DNR's official stance, even in managing urban deer herds, is that limited hunting options is the preferred option of the DNR, following all state ordinances and state rules. They do consider culls an option. They're more effective in the eyes of the DNR, but they are costly, controversial, things like that. So this was prepared really just to present an alternative option for the city to use when it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hamer.
Hi. When we talked about this at the work session, no one had reached out to me about it, and I said that. Since then, it has all changed. And I've gotten a lot of messages, phone calls, emails, a lot of talk on social media about it. I have also, and the neighbors are very concerned, of course, with hunting around their homes and the safety of that. So I reached out to the country club and to Jeff Hopkins from the country club. He said they are 100% for it because the deer are just destroying their property. And he assured me that it would not be open to the public hunters. It would not even be open to members. It would be a select few chosen people to be able to hunt with bow and arrow on their property. So I also reached out to the Sandocs and talked to Scott Musselman. They didn't know anything about it. But when he learned about it after my phone call, he's not real sure that they would say okay with it because of concern of the neighbors around the neighborhood. So I also had a Facebook friend, send me a link to a 2-hour video from Farmington Hills, which was very informative and educational. You know, their bow hunting or the allowing the bow hunting on those properties will only literally glean a handful of deer. So it's not going to do like the cull did, 30 deer in one night. It is cost effective to do it that way, but after I've talked to everyone, it doesn't outweigh the fear of the neighbors. So I will have to say no to it until maybe we can educate the neighbors more on, you know, a bow or an arrow drops after 50 yards and that kind of, but also educate them on what to do to keep the deer out of their yard and quit attracting them, quit feeding them. So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Anything else? Commissioner Ramsey, anything? Vice Mayor?
No.
President Savinga? Commissioner German? Any follow-ups? Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this because I do appreciate your efforts to look into using archery and bow hunting as part of our deer population management approach. And I appreciate the thoughtfulness that you put into trying to design it in a way that balances and puts public safety foremost, and the setbacks and the amount of property and the parameters of it to support public safety. I have also heard, like my fellow commissioner, a lot of concerns about endangering our residents, their pets, their property, as well as injured deer, kind of running amok. Like it's they're not going to be kill shots every time.
Sure.
And that it's about 50-50 is what I'm hearing and receiving some data that, and so there's concern about injured deer. One, just a matter of the humaneness of that, and then those deer running amok in the neighborhood, which is not a pretty sight and can be damaging in and of itself. So I take those concerns to heart. I would like to think that there could be room for this as one piece of our deer management program. But I'm wondering, though, is it really kind of a moot point? Because what I'm also hearing from folks, even that we're dead set against, absolutely against the deer call we did a couple years ago. They didn't want it then, but they were like, we would much prefer sharpshooters doing a narrow targeted deer call that's over the course of 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, very, very narrow, organized, and have professionals in there. They'd feel much more comfortable with that approach. Even though they were against it in the past, they'd be much more comfortable with that approach versus hunting, in and around their neighborhoods. And I wonder, though, if this is a moot point, because we are saying that it has to be five acres, and there aren't a lot of locations that would be conducive to this. And so if we move forward with this, would it be almost an idle ordinance in that we're not going to see much hunting or effectiveness of this, but we then have our residents afraid during bow hunting season that there are archers around them, and so then it disrupts their normal day-to-day and quality of life. And so those trade-offs. I had embraced this at our work session and thought this was a reasonable way forward, and you were being balanced. But given the feedback that I've received, and the thoughtful feedback I've received, it's compelled me to adapt and evolve in my thinking and approach. And so at this time, I cannot support the ordinance. Like my fellow commissioner, I would like to know or help support further education of our neighbors to prevent some of the issues that we're having, and then explore, a deer call if it's necessary with sharpshooters. But I really appreciate your efforts.
Very good. Yeah, the call was certainly, was effective, and it went better than I think we even planned for the last time. So it there was a lot of perception about that being not the way to go at the time too, and I think it went really well. It is just, it's a short-lived thing. It's something that if that's the route we choose, it's going to come up every 2 to 3 years, and that's what it'll be. So.
Are we coordinating with our neighbors like Norton Shores? Another thing I heard is like us doing it, in our section of our city isn't going to be very effective if adjoining municipalities are not.
Norton Shores allows it in parts of the city as well. I don't know that the piece directly adjacent to us, the Nugent Sand property that's in the process of becoming a county park, I don't know that that's available, and I don't know that the county would support it. I don't believe they permit any form of hunting on their other park properties, although
Give them time.
they do on the wastewater. They don't on like Pioneer Park and some of those things. So it might be something they have to consider in the future, but I don't think it is available option for those pieces directly adjacent to our city right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else from any other commissioners? Commissioner Smith.
So just to understand how it would work with the timing. So if an area gets approved as a deer management area, then it follows all the DNR rules. And so is that area then signed, or is the season just the same as the bow hunting season? How does that work?
The season could be up to the same as the bow hunting season, or it could be restricted to be shorter than that if that was kind of a direction we wanted to go. So say if we decided to try this at a park, or we wouldn't want to let it be the entirety of a bow season, which runs for 3 months. You would say we're going to try this for 2 weeks at a limited time so we can close the park, limit that access during that time to make it as safe as possible. But on, maybe the Country Club parcel, they might say we're going to run golf till November 1st, so we don't want anybody in October. They might, as part of their request, say we only want to do this in November, December, or whatever that would be. So it would be part of the commission approval of the area would also include the available dates that it could happen. But the maximum would be the entirety of the season. Does that make sense?
Sure. So in this ordinance, there's nothing about signage of the deer management area or when it's taking place, but that could be part of it if
it could be
if the city commission requests it when they issue the deer management area, or
I would say yes.
And
it's
I mean,
not
I think it would
out.
vary depend on what type of parcel it is. Like if it's a public park, like Cruzy or something like that, it's different than if it's the country club. But or the sand docks, but I think we'd want to be cognizant of safety.
Yeah, I understand. I don't believe the signing is directly addressed in the ordinance that it would be a requirement, so it would have to be something that would be brought up at the commission when it was approved or recommended by staff and adopted as a part of that approval.
Anything further, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Ramsey? Follow-ups here. Commissioner?
I mean, I think this is a tough one. I think, other areas are doing this. It's less expensive and I think more sustainable and probably more natural to have this occur like it does, for deer management across the state. I think it's a better approach, but I do understand the concern of people who would have it happening near them. I don't think passing this tonight is going to say that that's going to happen near you. I mean, I've heard some concerns from people in Bluffton Bay or, parcels adjoining Cruzy Park or whatever. But that would be a separate discussion per se. This would just allow those areas to be
Correct. Nothing would happen tonight. They would, still have to come back and get approval to officially hunt on those properties. Maybe at that time you could require notification within 300 feet of any parcel or something like we would for a planning commission hearing.
Sure. I don't know. I guess my concern is that we spent a lot of time investigating this, and I know at the last time we talked about, well, we should do more about deer management, but I think judging from what we read or see, I mean, it's not really happening in terms of vegetation or fencing or other things that, people recommend in an urban area. And I'm somewhat suspicious that we would do a lot better job, or we're going to actually come around to this issue. I'd say, this probably sounds like a good idea, and I'll vote to pass it. But I'm trying to say it's not saying that it's going to happen outside your door tomorrow. And I think that there's more discussion about how to have it done safely. But I do think that this might be a more sustainable and, frankly, I don't know, way to go.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yeah. Leo, thank you for all the work on this. I wasn't at this work session or this meeting because I was on vacation, but from what I've read, it sounds like you did put a lot of work into that. I don't know if we remember how agonizing the conversations around the cull were the first time that we had them, and the almost this same amount of people show up to talk about Save the Deer. And now those same people are reaching out into my inbox to support Commissioner Johnson, unfortunately, to say, yeah, that maybe this isn't the best way to go. And so I think that the cull that we've practiced before with the sharpshooters, keep it clean, neat, and tidy, and I would support that moving forward.
Anything else, commissioners, before we go to vote? Commissioner Johnson, follow up.
Yeah, I just wanted to get knowledge in terms of the cost of the call. If we don't do this, are we moving forward? Is the plan that we're going to move forward with a call using sharpshooters, similar to what we did before, and that seemed really effective and was done in one night. And the cost seemed to have come down considerably, because at one point we were looking at over $20,000, and I think it ended up coming under $10,000. And that deer meat was then, I think, donated as well, processed and donated. So it seemed like it worked really well in a lot of different areas, and it was less expensive than we anticipated. So do you anticipate it still being fairly reasonable cost-wise in that same realm?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe we spent, I think by the time it was done, I think we spent between $5,000 and $6,000 to contract with the USDA for their services on that. Okay. And you're right. I mean, it was one night. I believe we donated somewhere near 1,000 pounds of, processed meat to the rescue mission. So, I mean, aside from spending money on it, it went very well all around. So, and it certainly is an option, and we could pursue that again. It takes time to work through the DNR process. I can't just go and say I need 30 permits. They ask us to meet with them and do reports and do documentation and get all that together. So that would take time, but it could probably be done over the winter again, like it was last year.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a cost, but not a huge burden on us. And the trade-off is that our residents in those areas where you could have this deer hunting, which is not just in the west end, there's some sections on the east end as well of our city that could accommodate this, is that our residents have peace of mind that this bow hunting is not happening around them, and there's not the prospect of it happening around them if we don't move forward with this ordinance. So while there's some cost, there's the benefit of peace of mind for our residents, and maybe a targeted, narrow, like Commissioner Ramsey said, neat and tidy approach to with that call. So again, thank you for your efforts, and it sounds like you knocked it out of the park the first time. 2 years ago, in that approach, it worked really, really well. And so, thank you.
Commissioner German?
Yes. So, from sounds of it, are we looking at eliminating the archery portion of it and going more or less to what? The sharpshooting? That's sound like what I'm hearing.
Well, I think that the idea is to vote on this motion. So if you would vote no, then you would be against deer management area. I think what would happen is undetermined. It's a suggestion to pursue another call, but that would be for a different day.
Right. And I'm just trying to get some consensus, with the commission and what you're talking about, Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Ramsey. If you don't think, just a couple questions also for Leo, Mr. Evans. Have there been targeted areas for the hunting? Designated areas?
Nothing's been designated yet.
Nothing's been designated. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Resident Saving.
I'm fine with voting it down. I just would implore us to do something. The hunting is a more regular way to do it. So if we do something, we should implement a more regular approach to this deer management.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Muskegon?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
We're voting
On the ordinance to adopt or not?
to adopt or not. No.
Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Mayor Gallren?
No.
Vice Mayor Hood?
No.
Commissioner Ramsey?
No.
Commissioner German?
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. Item G, traffic control order number 71. Commissioner German.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the traffic control order 71, 2021.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Muskegon to approve traffic control order number 71-2021. Commissioner German.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Evans and City Manager Peterson. And also thanks to Chief Lewis. The reason for this request for a traffic or warning sign at the intersection of Ada Avenue and William Street, due to a tragedy that happened about a month ago. Young man was hit on a motor vehicle and killed right there. And I just happened to show up at the scene, and my condolences go out to the family and his loved ones. But, just the outrage from the community, pastors and family members. And I just felt that it was necessary for me as a commissioner to request some type of warning mechanism there. I did request a stop sign. And you can just explain how you came up with the yield sign, or was there a study or something that you guys did? Because I know it said it's facing east and westbound.
Yep.
Yeah.
We conducted a traffic count at the intersection, and we ran that through the engineering standards to determine what the signing should be. It just barely has enough vehicles to meet the threshold to warrant being signed under one of the traditional mechanisms.
Yeah. And
Williams has more traffic than Ada, so you yield the lesser street to the major street.
Okay, and that's good to know. So when I'm approached, I can explain that to the residents there. I know it doesn't bring back the young man who was actually killed at that intersection, and but hopefully, nothing else happens, and it's good to have something put in place to make sure people know that the intersection and warned, so it doesn't happen again. So I want to thank you all for jumping right on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Evans. How involved is that process to do that study? Is it?
It requires a 24-hour traffic count, so the hoses are placed for a 24-hour period. It more depends on being able to schedule someone to go out there and place the hoses and get a count than it does to actually conduct the count. So
Okay. It's putting the equipment down, coming back and picking it up
Yep.
later. Okay. I mean, because I heard concerns in other areas amongst neighbors about unmarked intersections and speeding and just wondering, can we get a stop sign or a yield sign or what can we do or the police trailer. We only have 2 of those speed trailers, but it's a concern that I've been hearing, and so I was just wondering, if there are a lot of residents in a particular area that want to explore that, just to refer them to your office.
just send them to me. We'll complete the study and go with whatever the engineering standards say, but we'll definitely follow up with them either way and let them know what that outcome is. So.
All right. Thank you, Director Evans.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else, Commissioner? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gallren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipiga.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That completes the consent agenda. We are moving up unfinished business, next in line. We could have read out item A amendments to the floodplain management ordinance, second reading.
Summary request, staff initiated request to amend sections 26-401 through 26-405 of the City Code of Ordinances to adopt the new flood insurance rate map panels from the National Flood Insurance Program. Staff recommendation to approve the request to amend sections 26-401 through 26-405 of the City Code of Ordinances to adopt the new flood insurance rate map panels from the National Flood Insurance Program.
Commissioner Saving.
So move.
Support.
Was that Commissioner Johnson? It's been moved by Commissioner Saving, seconded by Commissioner Johnson to approve the request to amend section 26-401 through 26-405 of the City Code of Ordinances to adopt the new flood insurance rate map panels from the National Flood Insurance Program. This is a second reading. Does anyone have any questions for staff on this before we move to vote? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gallren,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipiga,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item B, rezoning of 1128 Roberts, tabled from August 24th, 2021. We have this read out, please.
Summary request to rezone the property at 1128 Robert Street from R1 Single Family Residential Low Density to MC Medical Care by Fresh Coast Alliance. Staff recommendation to approve or deny the request to rezone the property at 1128 Robert Street from R1 Single Family Residential Low Density to MC Medical Care.
Commissioner Saving.
I move to approve the request to rezone the property 1128 Roberts to R1 single from R1 single family residential to MC Medical Care.
No second. Seeing as there is no second, the motion fails.
Yep. There's no motion.
There's no motion.
Is there another motion?
We have to have a second. We don't have a second.
We do not.
No.
We do not. Okay. So there is no motion. There is no business to transact on this unless there is one. Commissioner Ramsey?
So then could I motion to deny, or do we have to do that?
No. We have no motion, okay? So there is option for another motion if you wish to deny. And if you get a second, we'll vote on that.
I motion to deny the request to rezone the property at 1128 Robert Street from R1 Single Family Residential Low Density to MC Medical Care by Fresh Coast Alliance.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by the Vice Mayor, to deny the request to rezone the property at 1128 Robert Street from R1 Single Family Residential Low Density to MC Medical Care. Commissioner Ramsey?
I did that because I wanted to discuss this. I want to thank everyone who showed up here tonight, and my words are not going to be as eloquent as some of yours and won't be as colorful as others. But I'm going to share my thoughts about this because it really affects me deeply. Tonight, I heard the people that Fresh Coast Alliance wants to help, those people that we call neighbors. I heard them called sick. I heard them called felons. I heard them called burdensome. I heard them called dogs at one point, often referred to as these people, clients, patients, all of those things. And while I'm not holding one accountable for what comes out of their mouth in a heated situation, because I am a mouthy one as well, it's not okay. And for a community that is so stuck on being community, the conversations that were had here tonight are unacceptable. And the fact that everyone can say that these people need help, but that they don't need help in my backyard is not okay. Someone spoke to helping people through the love of Christ. I didn't see a ton of that tonight, heads up. So you might want to pray about that in church. Someone who was speaking out against the entire project said, told us that we needed more common sense and that we called ourselves Christians. But in my Bible, it talks about helping people, all people, regardless of where, who, or why. And so I don't live in that neighborhood. I do happen to live across the street from a transitional house for young men who are leaving the foster care system and have nowhere to go. And I welcome them across the street from my front door, literally. And from my side door, literally, is the Women's Rescue Mission, and I welcome them to be there. In fact, when they have fire alarms at 3 o'clock in the morning and it is raining without fail every time, I invite them onto my porch so that they don't have to stand in the rain. That doesn't make me better than you. But I do understand that if people need help and we want to continue to grow our community with people that are here, we need to find ways to help them and ways to make it okay. I also want to recognize the fact that the first time I was here and witnessed this discussion, and it came out from under the rug that there were already 5 homes in this area helping these neighbors to work through this process and through recovery so that they became more sustainable in everyday life. That one of the comments that I literally heard, and I could point to the woman who said it, was, well, yeah, there wasn't a problem because we didn't know they were there. Do not make problems for yourselves where there aren't any. If no one is hurting you, don't assume that they will. I, unfortunately, Nate and Joe, I have to vote no on this because I don't think that the people who you serve will flourish in an environment like the neighborhood you're trying to place them in. I don't think there is enough neighborly support in that neighborhood to provide the kind of goodwill and acceptance and connection that the people who are clamoring to get at your program need. And I'm sorry for that.
Vice Mayor?
I think I like what West Coast is doing, what they're trying to do, and that's help people. Because I do believe everyone needs a second chance. Most definitely. We all have family members that need that second and third chance. But also, we all have that family member that has that second and third chance, and then it's the fourth and the fifth. And it's until they are ready to make a change, or when the Lord steps in and says, it's time for you to make that change. Um, I don't like, when we say we don't want them or in my backyard, not in my neighborhood. That's makes me think too much about it used to be me, people that look like me that they didn't want in your neighborhood. Um, and that's a problem for me. But someone said that why can't we understand up here, the diocese? Why can't we understand what you're trying to say? Like we had our mind made up already, and we're not listening to you because we are listening to you. I mean, I am overwhelmed that the east side of Muskegon came out to this meeting and the last meeting and discussed and shared their opinion and how they felt about what's going on in Muskegon, about what's going on in their neighborhood. And that deserves, it's not what I want. I said this before. It's what my constituents want. This is my neighborhood also. I live on Creston. So it's not in my backyard, but it is in my neighborhood. And so I personally don't have a problem with that. But I say again, I don't live next door or it's not behind me. So I can't speak for the people that do live next door or behind them. Um, and then I had I had a few calls, several actually, about this topic. And it's two that sticks out in my mind. And two people that I do respect. One was for it being in the neighborhood, and I respect that. I understand what he was saying, and the other one said, "I know the people that's running this place. I know what they do. They do good work, but the question is, where do they live? And is this type of facility being placed in their backyard or in their neighborhood? Um, or are they trying to get one in their neighborhood?" So that sticks out in my mind also. And I'm not saying that they're hypocritical or anything like that. I'm just saying, would you welcome that in your own neighborhood? So at this time, I mean, I would have to vote this down because I have to vote the way my constituents feel. And you do make a difference when you come out and voice your opinion. And I would love to see more of that happen. Thank you, man.
Vice Mayor? Mr. German?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just listening to the sentiments from the residents tonight, the meeting before, and I was hoping that the community and Fresh Coast could come to some type of agreement to get some buy-in. And that's why I asked to table this, to give public input to see how you feel. Because I received some calls that, from that ward over there, and that's not my ward, but when a citizen called me, I don't care where they live. If you have a concern and something matters, I've taken an oath to serve the community, and that's what I abide by. It's good that you did come out and go to these meetings and have some dialogue to find out what you want in your community and what you don't want. And as taxpayers, you have that right. I do applaud Fresh Coast for the work that they've done. And I've asked questions and at the meeting before we tabled this, and then I was present at the actual church where the community meeting was held. I hear things like, okay, what would God do? What would Jesus do? I've heard it all, and some of the things that I heard tonight, just coming back, from some of the residents in the feedback, just because you don't agree with someone, I mean, that doesn't give you the right to be judgmental about a person. If you look at Matthew 7:3, it tells you, and why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but don't consider the plank in your own eye? None of us have no room to judge anyone. People have made mistakes in their life. And I think if each and every one of us go back in our history, we can look and we done made some mistakes. And we want to be held accountable for something that we paid the price for or happened years ago. I don't think so. So I think we need to just be mindful of where we came from. Now, having a facility in a community like that, because these people do need help. And I've worked in areas where, some residents had to go to drug facilities and be shipped out, sent to other facilities to get treatment. And I've seen the effects. Some recover well, some don't. But you take an initiative to go out and petition. Your voices are being heard. And I think that says a lot to the city of Muskegon and this council here, this commission. Because I take in consideration of how you feel. And at this point in time, I just feel that the community don't want this in their community right now. And hopefully later down the line, something could work out where Fresh Coast could move on and maybe pick another spot. I don't know the plans, So I just want to say I commend each and every one of you for taking the initiative to at least have that dialogue and talk. Because sometimes things don't always go in the favor that you want. But as a commissioner, my job is to make sure to be pragmatic about things and take a common sense approach and to listen to both sides. So, thank you.
Commissioner Emery?
I too, I agree with Commissioner Ramsey, everything that he said. Thank you for those words. I couldn't say them any better. I agree with our Vice Mayor and Commissioner German. I was at your neighborhood meeting, and I did hear you, and I do understand where you're coming from and what you're seeing, and I, like Commissioner German, I want to applaud you. You do have a voice here. Thank you for telling us your voice and letting us know whether I agree with it or not, or whether any of us agree with it or not. It's your feelings, it's your fears, your concerns. So for that reason, Yes, I'm listening to you, and I will vote no on the rezoning. To Fresh Coast, you know how I feel because I've talked to you guys, and I applaud, absolutely applaud what you're doing in our community. I want you to go back to the drawing board. I want to give you a new mission, and that is to build a relationship with your neighbors. Show them who you are, what your goals are. Touch their heart to move their will. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Emery. Anything, Commissioner Johnson?
So much has been said already and said so well. This is a dilemma. This service is needed. This programming is needed. That has been said and reinforced by people on both sides of this particular topic. We recognize the value and the benefit and the necessity of this. I think when we talk about representation, and that's end of the day, that's what we are. This is representative democracy. We are elected representatives. We endeavor to represent while serving the needs and interests of our community. As a whole, I'd say our city wants this type of programming. When you talk about zoning specifically, there needs to be respect towards those closest and most impacted by that zoning, that live within those areas that are being zoned or rezoned. And we need to be mindful of those people and respectful. And I appreciate, we've heard, Vice Mayor Hood is not wrong when he says we don't hear, a whole lot from folks, or some people feel disempowered or voiceless, but we heard y'all. Y'all have a voice, and y'all being heard tonight, and we appreciate it. I love it. I love community engagement. I love dialogue and engaging and hearing from our residents, and so your voice is being heard. I appreciate Fresh Coast Alliance, the good works that you do. Grace and redemption are so important, and we have to have that capacity for grace and redemption for others. And I think Commissioner Ramsey is very accurate in his concerns about how the folks in your program may be received and allowed to flourish. I appreciate that Fresh Coast has taken that initiative since this came up, a couple months ago, to apply that conditional zoning to narrow the potential usage for this property. It wasn't opening a Pandora's box. I appreciate that Fresh Coast Alliance did hold additional meetings with the neighborhood. I attended one of them. Another one was the same night as a work session, so I couldn't be there. But the first one was fairly well attended with folks in the neighborhood, as well as people benefiting from your program. There seemed to be some still division there, not coming together of the minds, and figuring out how we can be neighbor. In hindsight's 2020. Fresh Coast may have been more yielded better results by being communicative earlier and more proactive, and building that rapport with our neighbors. One of the things that was sticking out for me, because I would welcome this, honestly. Like I said before, it's not about our personal wishes and how we execute our duties as elected representatives. But I would welcome this in my neighborhood. If this were to be built at the old NIM school property, which is just a block away from my home, I would welcome it. I grew up in this neighborhood where our Redeemer is. I attended preschool there. I grew up on the 1200 block of Kelvin. lived my whole life there until college. I know that area well. I know many of you. That's one of the sticking points, though, for this particular plan was the scope of the build not aligning well enough with the existing neighborhood and the scale of the neighborhood. And so that was going to ask, I mean, it seems like a moot point now to dig into that, but that was one of the things I wanted to understand better tonight as to how we arrived there. And had alternatives been explored, because I brought that up at the meeting a month ago, is looking at breaking that up from monolithic, 16 units to something that aligns more with the existing fabric of the neighborhood and the scale of the neighborhood. But at this point, that seems moot, and I won't even belabor that or go down that road of discussion, particularly because it's past 8. But this is the dilemma. We have to find a way.
Can I toss a free idea?
That,
No. There's no debates here. It's at the dais only.
It's 2 buildings, it's going to be torn down.
I'd welcome that, or not now, but we would welcome that input later afterward. Such a challenge, but I'm lost. I'm at a loss for words right now.
Commissioner Muskegon.
Yeah, I'm saddened by this situation, and I've seen it a number of times over the last number of years. People having a very hard time compromising or having any sort of productive discussion. It's happened numerous times on zoning issues. I mean, I guess one question I have is, if we don't do this zoning, will Fresh Coast be able to, what will the impact be on their current operations? I think that something needs to be done to help them do some sort of continue the operations that they have been doing, and to move in some direction of what they would like to do at a smaller scale or something like that. Again, it's just, they've been in this place for quite a long time, and they're not coming in to try and do something. They're growing from what they had in a sustainable way. It's difficult to tell a group that, you should go to here or there, when this is where they kind of have grown up. And this, I understand that it's, that there's been a lot of things learned about this in the process that people didn't understand happening. But that also says that, it wasn't the worst thing in the world either. And we do need this service somehow. So my concern is about with denying this is, what does it mean for their future plans, and what is the intention of, the commission and others to, try to help this group still fulfill their mission in some way. Again, the biggest thing is it's sad that there was just a lack of compromise. I think at the move to table last time, I said, what are we going to table it for if we're not going to have some discussion? We got a recap of the discussion from staff, from Fresh Coast Alliance's perspective. They went beyond the church meeting, the meeting that we're talking about. They went to the neighborhood association meeting, but what was communicated was the group was only pursuing a no petition. So they did not come to the neighborhood association to discuss it. At some point, we have to find a way to move forward in this situation. And I understand, Fresh Coast has a responsibility, and the neighborhood has to work together somehow. And we can't force it, but we're in a conundrum here. So I think I don't know what approving or denying is kind of a problem. I mean, I don't know if one of those is right. I think neither of them may be right at this point. But what do we do in this situation? This is how zoning works and how public meetings work. So if it's denied, I again ask people to think about what we're going to do moving forward. And they've put a lot of effort into this, and to keep going around on this is difficult. So it's not an easy process for the group that's requesting this.
No, not at all. But we find ourselves here with a motion to deny. I think that the one thing that resonates the most with me is Commissioner Ramsey's term of connection, and there is no connection, unfortunately, at this juncture. And unfortunately, I think that Fresh Coast, their operations and whatnot, would be in an even worse shape because of the level of disconnect. And I think this experience, which has been very labor intensive, needs to really be viewed by any number of us within the community, whether we're involved in these services and what falls to us with outreach to the community. Because oftentimes it's unknown. And to some of the questions out in the community, no, the city doesn't have anything to say over AFC homes and some of these other type of operations. Those are fully controlled and regulated by the state of Michigan or the federal government, depending on the type of programming. And nobody was intentionally trying to fly under anybody's radar. Just you don't put a neon sign out to say, hey, just like I don't put up a neon sign on my house to say, hey, this is, what I'm doing here in the Mims neighborhood. I'm just coming in to live and hopefully find some peace and community. We're not there tonight. And if this proceeds, and it looks like it will proceed to be denied, then we all have some soul searching, and we all have to take the opportunity to learn how to walk through these enterprises better with each other. And that's on all parties. I've heard it from the agencies. But I don't fault them from wanting to live quietly and peacefully for the sake of the people that they serve and who we want to be our neighbors. But right now, there is no connection, and I think it's almost violent disconnect, unfortunately. Anything else, commissioners, before we go to roll? Commissioner German.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Like Commissioner Semiga stated, just trying to find a way to determine the future of Fresh Coast and the work that they do. Being at those meetings and listening to the testimonies to those individuals and how some struggled and are still struggling. I think we all struggle in some shape, form, or fashion, maybe in different ways, but maybe not. The work that they're doing, I think, would be in the best interest of the community to continue to have dialogue and build those relationships again. It may take time. who knows? But I really think that, looking and giving it an opportunity to just watch and see what your community's turning into and the neighboring relationships that is going to exist because, as Mr. Johnson said before, they're already in the neighborhood. So, and some of you probably didn't even know this was going on until this was brought public. So, I think watching, building those relationships, and just to see how things pan out. It may not never happen, and that's the community's choice, you know. But as to one of the comments that was made that, somebody's getting paid up here, nobody's getting paid up here. Everybody up here, and I can speak for myself, but I can't speak for everyone else. But the integrity that we present as commissioners and the oath that we take and that we took, we're here to serve you and do the right thing. I got to get up and go to work in the morning. So hey, if I was getting paid, I wouldn't have to do that. But just for the sake of it, you're going to hear things that people are going to make comments, when things don't seem in their favor. But I think each and every one of these commissioners, including staff, do the best that we can do to serve the community. And as long as I'm a commissioner, that's exactly what I'm going to do because I took that oath to serve the public. And I've been doing this for over 10 years. Actually longer than that, but in this spot.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else, Commissioners, before we go to vote? The motion is to deny. Roll call.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Muskegon,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gowron,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Yes.
Motion adopted.
Thank you. That takes us to public hearings. Item A, final PUD approval for Adelaide Point. May we have this read out, please? Folks, we're still transacting business, so would you please, before you start speaking with each other and visiting, please make sure you're far out and thank you.
Final PUD approval at Adelaide Point Planning. Summary request. Request for final planned unit development. Approval for a mixed-use development at 920, 1148, 1204 West Western Avenue.
No, we skipped it.
Staff recommendation to approve the request for final planned unit development approval for a mixed-use development at 920, 1148, 1204 West Western Avenue with the following conditions. A revised site plan that addresses narrower streets and water main and fire hydrant locations is approved by staff. The site plan receives a stormwater permit from Muskegon County Drain Commissioner's Office. A development agreement that establishes public accesses requirements is approved by the City Commission.
The public hearing? That's your public hearing, yes.
Good evening.
Transit, good evening.
So the Planning Commission unanimously recommended in favor of this PUD. They approved the preliminary plan, unanimously recommended approval of the final plan. This is a great plan in terms of development. It really accomplishes so much of what's in our master plan, especially the Imagine Muskegon Lake plan. It increases public access. There will be an additional fishing pier, another boat launch, mixed-use development, and additional boat slips. So it's really kind of addressing all the things that we've been wanting for on the waterfront in this specific piece of property. There are just a few things that we asked to be in the motion, which would be that development agreement that establishes the public easements on site, approval from the Drain Commissioner, and we had also asked that they
move up on the plan, building C5 and C6, which are the boat storage buildings right off of Western Avenue. We asked that they bring those a little bit closer to the streets and have them act like a little bit more of a traditional downtown building. They spruced that up. I believe they have some renderings and a presentation they're going to show about how those look. They added a lot more transparent windows and building access points through doorways. So it's really going to help draw people in to the end of West Western off of Fricano's and the rest of the development down there. So not only will the focus be on the waterfront, which it should be, but we'll actually be able to help activate Western Avenue as well.
Great, great. Any questions for Mr. Franzik before we have the developer present? Mr. Leetsma, you and company?
He does a better job.
And he does a better job. And if we could just have your name and affiliation address for the record.
I'm Greg Wykamp with Edgewater Resources out of St. Joseph, Michigan, working with Mr. Leesma on this project.
Well, welcome this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We've got about a 3-hour presentation I'd like to share tonight.
All right, Vice Mayor, will you take over?
I move. So, thank you for that. We've been working with the City of Muskegon for months and months on this process, and I just want to start off by recognizing all the team in planning and Mr. Evans and Jake and everybody else, Ms. Franzik, helping us guide this plan and really make it as good as we can. So you're all familiar with the site here. It's across from the Kohl's facility on West Western. You guys can see this, right? You've got screens, good. So you can see the historic site there where the steel mill was. They used to build bombs on the site, all kinds of crazy things. And this is what it looks like as of a few months ago. And kind of as you've been out there, there's so much potential of this site to take advantage of. This is just incredible location on the lake. And I just was so pleased to start on this process with Ryan. The very first conversation we had about this project was how do we maintain the public access that has been there and make it and expand on it. And Ryan can tell the story of how he and his family came to Muskegon when he was, 14? And it was all about coming to the lake and wanted to protect and preserve that for the neighborhood. So this is the view of what's out there today. And as you can see, there's a lot that needs to be improved and cleaned up on the East Peninsula and some of these other areas. And where we want to go with it is to really clean that up and expand that access and create a lot of new activity on the waterfront. As we talked about, a lot of boating access, a lot of public boating access, affordable boating access. We're reconstructing the the closed docks that were destroyed by the flooding in the East Basin, rebuilding those, offering all kinds of boating access for everyone in the community in terms of rental paddle boards, boat rentals, all those sorts of things. The amount of public access that will be through the development agreement dedicated to permanent public easement is double what's out there today and more than doubling the amount of public path that's out there. And quite literally, every inch of the waterfront will remain open to the public. I cannot say that about any other development I've ever done on the waterfront, and that's all I do. All I do is work on waterfront projects, and this is by far the most community access, most community-oriented project I've ever worked on. So a quick overview of the plan. If you're familiar with those large buildings that are out there, this building exists right here, as does this one. We've been calling them Big White and Big Blue. This area is a large open field at the moment, and this is that area I just showed you. So the idea is that this area here will remain mostly in that kind of boat storage activity, and the area out on the water will be all mixed use with new homes, new restaurants, new shops, new things along the water's edge for everyone in the community to enjoy. We have the existing path goes through here. That path is being rerouted. It's always on the waterfront side of the buildings, going out, even out onto the new breakwater, out with these new docks out here. We have about 75 transient slips to bring in more folks to the community. And then the shopper docks over here. These will be docks that anybody can come to and just come in and visit the restaurants and visit the area, do those sorts of things. New restaurants, new public activities on the waterfront, fishing piers. Right now, this, what we'll call the East Peninsula, is behind a fence. It's technically public, but it was only accessible to those who leased a slip, so nobody's been in there for years. That will all be opened up and completely renovated and cleaned up. Again, more fishing piers, more fishing access, all those sorts of things. New boat launch area here that will support larger trailerable boats than the current launch can support. Just a quick enlargement there. As we look at this, really it's about the continuing transformation of your waterfront and bringing more people to the community. Every sustainable measure that we can apply has been applied. Mr. Leesma owns a commercial solar company, so there'll be a tremendous amount of renewable energy in terms of solar power, wind turbine generation. All of the buildings will be mass timber construction, which is a new thing. It's basically a very sustainable approach to building large buildings out of wood, recalling our Lumbertown heritage here. But it also means a much lighter structure, which means less infrastructure, less weight, less stuff. It's a less carbon intensive project. So all of those sorts of things are really positive. Cleaning up the brownfield aspects. This is the character. We hope to have all of that water's edge as much as possible be soft. So we have to mix in a little bit of armoring, but we want to have as much landscape as we can. You can get a sense of the architectural character here. Looking at this is the back side of the building, so I'm always excited when the back of the building looks as good as the front. All of our streetscapes, all of our street design is meant to recall a traditional neighborhood with on-street parking, very narrow streets, and a lot of public access there. As we look at just some interior shots of the quality of the views, that's the actual view out towards Pigeon Hill. And this is the building, this is one of the first buildings that would be constructed is a public restaurant and activity with event centers out there, and also boat rentals and boat sales out there at the peninsula, at the northeast corner of the site. This is the kind of character we want to have when people are visiting the site. It should feel almost, in a way similar to the kind of really walkable character that you have downtown, and it's that extension out to the water. So a tremendous amount of natural features. We've been working with the Muskegon County Drain Commissioner on all the water quality elements, so everything with biofiltration, naturalized shorelines, green roofs, all those sorts of things. I'm going fast. If you want more detail, just let me know. Solar, we're actually working on a prototype to integrate solar into the marina dock system. Not a guarantee, but we're working on that right now. We're putting solar on top of all the rooftops. We know that for sure we can do. Green roofs as well. Dark sky lighting, all of the things that make it a really inviting, wonderful waterfront so you can see the stars. Really special. Just nice character. A few images here. Dry rack boat storage. This is another way to provide affordable boating. This is about half the price of keeping the boat in the water. It also puts a lot of boats on the lake with less environmental impact. And then public access, ADA compliant kayak launching, all those sorts of things. Again, nice, beautiful, soft edges. Lots of fishing. We know a tremendous number of people fish out there today. We want to make that even better than it is. The East Basin in particular, the East Axis is currently the most contaminated part of the site with very poor water quality. That will be cleaned up, all the contaminants removed, and the water quality greatly improved, and more fishing access in that area as well. This is that building along West Western that was mentioned. This is a larger scale building that could be for boat sales or those sorts of things. But again, you can see the solar, all the open glass, and an additional bike connection that we sort of call it the commuter cutoff. So not everybody might want to go all the way up and around the lake if you're coming downtown. So this would be a connection from the trail at the west end, right along Western, right downtown as well. So with that, we have a quick phasing plan. We're already underway on these areas here. If you haven't been out there, how many dumpsters? 150? 200 dumpsters of just junk and asbestos and nasty stuff is all gone, been cleaned up in all these buildings. We're also looking at improving this East Basin launch area for next spring, looking at starting on the first building next spring as well, and also starting on these areas here on that shoreline, and then that restaurant that I just mentioned. Following that would be the marina and all the elements there, the restoration of all of that natural edge. We lost so much of it during the high waters. That would be restored, the natural edge. And then future phases, I just say 24 plus. It'll be market driven for how quickly the rest of the residential buildings come online. So with that, it's question and answer time.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Yeah, can you go back to the previous image?
Phasing plan?
Yep, 2022, you have the public use docks for shopping yachts, shopping docks. I would love to shop for a yacht.
Sure.
Since we're all getting paid up
I'll
here
help you
anyway,
with
I mean. So that includes both the shopping docks and the increased access to the fishing space.
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom back up to this plan. You can see a little bit better, a little bigger. So yeah, our hope. Oops. Our plan next spring is to get this lift well and this launch area open and begin the cleanup of these areas here as well. Yep.
So thank you for being cognizant of that and intentional about that, because I think that the only thing that I've heard about this project is, Michael, make sure that they don't mess with public access. And so if I have to fight either of you in the street, I will.
Perfect.
But I think that this plan sounds amazing. I think that this looks amazing. I'm very excited about having it happen. And I want to thank you for starting with what is the most public part of this relatively soon, so that we can help our neighbors to understand that this is really a collaborative effort moving forward. And we want to make sure that we're not only enhancing, but maintaining the access to our beautiful shore.
Anything, Commissioner Muskegon?
I think I've talked to Mr. Leesma a couple times. I think this is my favorite place in the city of Muskegon, maybe. There's a lot of places that are my favorite, but nothing beats a bike ride at dawn or at dusk or any time in between, because you can see that, it's just amazing, the 270-degree view. I, like Commissioner Ramsey, would be concerned about the public access. I think that this is a great plan. I'm excited to see it incorporated into the neighborhood and, become an extension of downtown. I think there's such potential in this area, and the fact that we can share this beautiful place with more people. I mean, you don't see very many people taking advantage of it now, and I think that the fact that more people will be out there is really really cool, and I know that people are going to fall more in love with Muskegon when they see this project.
Vice Mayor?
I just want to echo what Commissioner Ramsey said in terms of public access. Don't mess with the public access in terms of take it away. If anything, enhance it, give us more. I like the plan that you got. And I think one of the things that constituents were that had a problem with was a lot of public access was being taken away.
Can I address that? So the peninsulas that are here actually are not public access right now. That is my property, right? I've always said that it's probably the most heavily trespassed piece of property in Muskegon. But I don't want to take that away from anybody. And I think that there's a way to integrate public good with capitalist pursuit. Bill Gates calls it creative capitalism, right? Where you pursue the return of capital, but you do it in such a way so that it creates public good at the same time. Like Apple Red iPhone would be a perfect example, right? So they give money to the Red campaign, but they sold a bazillion iPhones that they wouldn't have sold otherwise, right?
Right.
So I think this is one of those rare opportunities where doing the right thing is good for business, right? Because what I think we want to do is we want to create a place where people will get drawn in for many different reasons, and then they're going to see all kinds of other things going on with all kinds of other different groups of people, whether or not they're young or they're old or if they're from out of town or from across the lake or in the neighborhood, and they stay. And I think that if we can draw them in and they want to keep hanging around, they'll spend their money, which will be good for my customers someday. They're going to invest in this town. I think that that's really kind of the point. So I actually am very passionate about creating officially public access, once we get our development agreement together, officially creating a public easement on Adelaide Point's property for the public. I think it'll be great.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Leesma, for the work you've already done to start cleaning up and revitalizing that section that was not the greatest shape.
Lost my groundskeeper about 2 weeks ago. Back at school.
But nice work thus far, and I'm excited about your plans for further development and investment. So grateful for your investment, grateful for the thoughtfulness in which you're pursuing this development of expanding that waterfront public access, which is so important to us and our residents, but also incorporating that so many environmental sustainability aspects in the construction and the design and the renewable energy. Like, I'd love to see that in developments all across our city. And so kudos to you for being that that visionary developer and being that to provide that example for others to hopefully emulate in development along our waterfront. But also grateful to staff for your work with this developer and the thoughtfulness with which you've pursued. How do we craft this PUD and incorporate public access, or even when you refer to C5 and C6 on here of wanting to contribute more to the public realm and pedestrian experience on Western Avenue. I think that's really important, and so many of these other things that you have in your summary report are important and reflective of the type of good design that we want to have in our city. And I think that's particularly important with regard to those two buildings, C5 and C6 on Western, to help invite the NIMS neighborhood into this project as well. Because, I mean, it's all well and good if you've got a ton of public access, but if it's not technical public access on the waterfront, but if your development overall does not feel welcoming to the residents surrounding it and to our neighbors, it doesn't necessarily it's not really true access, so to speak. So that's important, that this isn't feel like a standalone development segregated from the rest of our city, the rest of the waterfront, the rest of the NIMS neighborhood. And so I think that is important. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Leesma, for attending a NIMS Neighborhood Association meeting and speaking to our neighbors and fielding those questions. So I'm grateful for your engagement in that regard.
Remember when she said that one lady said she wanted to do without me?
Yeah. Could I add one thing to that? So it is a good point to bring up the NIMS Neighborhood Association. So Mr. Leesma did present the development, and the staff was present as well. And actually, it was citizen feedback that gave us an idea on the Western Avenue portion of the public improvements that will be called for this project to actually place potentially a trailhead at the current cul-de-sac at the end of Western Avenue, which will give people parking for the first time in the NIMS neighborhood to actually access the trail. So right now, most folks from NIMS have to cross Western either at Division or at Franklin, and they either trespass, quote unquote, through Fricano's site, or go down to the end of Western, and they miss that entire loop that Commissioner Muskegon was talking about, or they have to go all the way down by the Boys and Girls Club building to get on the trail. So this will actually provide a lot of nice new accessible access to the trail system that the NIMS neighborhood didn't have previous, and that was because of the neighbors actually referencing that. We have no real good way to get to the trail, so is there a way for us to incorporate that? Right. I did want to give kudos to the neighbors at that meeting.
Very good. You can put your bike over the railroad tracks. Yeah,
yeah, so they all walk across my front.
I've done that a couple times. I agree this is a great idea to cut off a couple minutes when you don't have time. So,
hey, Commissioner Emery?
I'm good. I love it.
I'd just like to say congratulations and the progress that you're making. I just can't wait to see the finished product, the project, I should say. Definitely, it's going to be a healthier environment down that way also, to clean up on the lakefront as well for years. The history, of what Muskegon used to be like during the industrial years, and to see this area cleaned up in a more healthier environment for the community and definitely the public access. That's one of the things I always hear about also. So providing that, and I think it's going to be a huge addition to the Muskegon.
Yeah, I'm quite taken as well by the initiative. No one's required to go to the extent that you have gone.
What?
No one is required to go to the extent that you have with focusing on public access. I think many Muskegonites forget that just because it's an empty lot, it doesn't belong to the city. And it didn't belong to the city 200 years ago. As a matter of fact, 200 years ago, that piece of dirt wasn't there. It was created by lumber fill and then, later on industrial fill. And here's a, perfect example that, when people say that development happening in Muskegon isn't done with a focus on the environment, or we don't benefit from, redevelopment of old foundry land, et cetera, but we do, because it's going to get cleaned up. And your focus on being sensitive to, even the type of development materials and whatnot shows that the entire community, especially when we're dealing with these abandoned foundry fill areas, will help continue to protect our lake and protect the surrounding neighborhoods. And I'm a kid that, grew up a lot on Lower Western. Right across the street from your property was Anaconda Wire and Cable, and Dad worked there running machines for, over 30 years. Dale was an engineer at Westran, West Michigan Steel, back in the 60s. I'm also very excited about activating the street because people forget that, downtown isn't merely from, Terrace Street down Western to the traffic circle. Downtown was the end of Lower Western, even though most of the building frontage was industrial, but went all the way down Ottawa Street to Richards Park. And we were even in Ripley's, believe it or not, because we had the most gas stations in 1 linear mile than any other municipality in the United States. But
my hometown had the most.
But I'm excited to see the weaving in of the development into the NIMS neighborhood, the expansion of the streetscape that will weave in all the way down Western Avenue into, the business, sector, proper. But that can, continue to evolve. And it's very exciting. And thank you for your attention to detail. Thank you for your attention to the people that live here and how, we can all benefit as neighbors in that connectivity. And there's that word connection comes up again, Commissioner Ramsey. But thank you for that.
What I've been saying is that the reason that Muskegon became great originally is because railroads ran south of Chicago. They didn't run up here. And so if you needed to get products to and from Michigan, you had to ship them, right? Well, Muskegon had the best waterfront, and we capitalized on it. We grew our city, had more millionaires per capita than anywhere else in the U.S. at one point. We used our waterfront to create income and to create prosperity. And globalization took that all away from us. You look at Holland, you look at Saugatuck, and you look at Grand Haven, you look at these other ports where they didn't have the industrial capability that we did. Their first and original use of waterfront was for pleasure and residential. And they just did it in a non-planned way. Really, there aren't any planned communities on those bodies of water. It just kind of happened. People started buying cottages, et cetera. Well, now the old way for us to get, to create prosperity in our community is gone. And we have to move to that new way. But I look at it and say, maybe the reason that we're doing it last is because we can do it best. We can see what doesn't work. We can see that taking water and making it available only to a smaller group of people, they can't make huge contributions to the economy. right? They can't do anything to inspire people from out of town. And it is very important to me to take everything that I've learned in, technology and in renewable energy and in real estate and construction and do something that hasn't been done. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value in that from a capitalist perspective. Creating, Steve Jobs said our job is not to respond to demand in the market. Our job is to create demand in the market. And so for like the mass timber condos and what I'm trying to do with combining public, it hasn't been done, right? And I can't tell anybody here exactly how it's going to work out. I don't know, right? But I can tell you that it is audacious. I think it's worth pursuing. The capital's there. The public is there. The political will is there. The media is there. Everything seems to be there. The metrics look promising. And I'm going to try. And that's it. I don't want to do it like anybody else. Probably couldn't if I wanted to. But I do appreciate the support that you guys have given us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
before we go to public comment, is there anything else for Mr. Leedsma or company? Not it. Commissioner
Not for
Johnson.
Mr. Leesma, but for staff, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So I just noticed in the report, the staff summary report, that it says staff is currently working with the developer on these staff comments, and they're preparing to present new materials at the meeting that will address these. So I just wanted to confirm that that you all are satisfied with the response to your questions or concerns or stipulations that you've attached to this, that staff is satisfied.
We satisfied with the planning comments. They did a great job moving those buildings and creating a walkable street front. I think they're still hashing it out with engineering and the water main, and I would just prefer that condition be put on there as well as fire, although I believe that they have satisfied the fire marshal's questions. But I think that would be good if you put in there. And also, just to make sure that this public access does remain public, that it would be put into the development agreement.
Okay.
Just to add on to that, so just to be transparent with the commission about the processes following the approval of PUD, those concerns are addressed both in the development agreement and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Board plan amendment that the developer is bringing, hopefully, this October meeting. We are at what I would effectively call the final, closing in on the final draft of that development agreement. I'm hoping to have that before the commission in October as well. Okay. Once this plan document is approved, we want those other two dominoes to fall, especially the brownfield side of things. We really want, because of the taxable improvements that have been made to the property already, it's imperative that this becomes like the 0 year for that brownfield tip. Mm-hmm. So we're moving diligently on both of those items.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that development agreement is where we're going to be locking in that public access for our waterfront, and this PUD is conditioned upon that development agreement being approved. And you're otherwise satisfied with, because you mentioned making some modifications to the C6 and C5 building on Western Avenue. Works with you. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners, before we go to public hearing? Thank you all. Are there any members of the public that would like to make public comment on the final PUD approval at Adelaide Point? Okay, if there
are no public comments, I move to close the public hearing and approve the request for final plan unit development for mixed-use development at 920/1148/1204 West Western Avenue with the following conditions. 1, a revised site plan that addresses narrow streets and water main and fire hydrant locations be approved by staff. 2, the site plan receive a stormwater permit from Muskegon County Drain Commissioner's Office. And 3, a development agreement establishing public access requirements be approved by the City Commission.
Support.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. It's been moved by Commissioner Johnson, supported by the Vice Mayor, to approve the request for the final plan unit development.
Didn't come for anything.
Approval for mixed-use development. Oh, and close the public hearing. I'm sorry. Close the public hearing and approve the request for the final plan unit development. Approval for mixed-use development at the addresses outlined with the following conditions outlined. Any further discussion or comments before we go to vote? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ritz Muskegon,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Gallagher,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that takes us to new business. Item A, please, for DDA liquor license at 1208 Street. May we have this read out?
DDA liquor license, 1208 8th Street. Planning, summary request. Request for issuance of a DDA on-premise liquor license for Motu Lakeshore Wine Bar LLC at 1208 8th Street. Staff recommendation to approve the request for a DDA on-premise liquor license for Motu Lakeshore Wine Bar LLC at 1208 8th Street.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Muskegon, seconded by Commissioner Johnson to approve the request for the DDA on-premise liquor license for Motu Lakeshore Wine Bar LLC at 1208 8th Street. Mr. Franzik.
All right, we have a new business that would like to locate in the recently renovated building at the end of Western off of 8th Street, 1208 8th Street. We do have them here tonight to go over a little bit about their business if you have any questions for them. And this is for the DDA liquor license, which is non-transferable, so it would always stay with the building.
Stays with the building. Okay, any comment or questions or comments to staff? And then perhaps we can call up the principals to give us a thumbnail sketch of something very exciting that will be happening here in town. Anything for Mr. Franzik? Well, our dear new friends and neighbors, if you just give your names and addresses and perhaps just guide us through the upcoming plans, and then would you be open for questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Jonathan Jelks from Grand Rapids, so 345 Roby Street, Southeast Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Randall Jelks, 901 Jocelyn Street, Southeast Grand Rapids, and also 1045 West Larch Avenue in Nims neighborhood.
Alvin Hills IV, 1667 Chateau Drive, Wyoming, Michigan.
We're so excited to be here in the Muskegon community and to have the opportunity to invest. My mother's family, Mary Beth Jelks, they're both residents of downtown and over there in the sister city, the Heights. And Muskegon is just near and dear to our hearts. So I could be a bleeding heart and talk about it all day, all night. But we have so much family here. We love the sense of community, the close-knit nature of everything that goes on here. And even when you guys are having clearly some contentious conversations, you still feel the love in the room and that the community wants to see things progress in the right direction. So honestly, I think what Ryan was saying was quite inspirational, and it kind of underscores what we hope to do in the Muskegon community, which is just to add on, to be a part of the DNA of this great community. You guys have so many amazing movements going on. And we want to add on. We want to be a part of it. We want to help to create a pipeline for hospitality talent here. We want to not extract, because we are from Grand Rapids and our Grand Rapids natives. We don't want to be a part of any extraction process, and more we want to be inclusive and create opportunities for everything that's going on here locally. And so we have that in mind with this project at 1208 8th Street. We've been really pleased with how the city of Muskegon has treated us. Mike from planning has been outstanding. Obviously, Frank is an inspiration to anybody who catches him on social media, and so we're really feeling good about this project, and we hope that City Commission will be willing to approve us this evening.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you. So, any questions, please?
Questions for the gentleman? Vice Mayor?
I don't have any questions. I'm just glad to see you guys here and welcome you to Muskegon.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
Well, Commissioner, I do pay taxes in the city, so I guess I want to be welcome.
And seeing as how you're right in my neighborhood, you can come on up to the house on Palmer, and Sue will set a table for us.
You just heard how he responded. You sure you want to invite this guy?
I think he's technically in my ward.
So-
He's got those shoes.
So it's your job to keep him in line.
Right.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up.
I'm also going to make a statement in the middle of all this. Suggest. Thank you for coming downtown to really help to create a downtown that is inviting to all people. We have a very vibrant downtown, and we knew that it was important to build that anchor in our community, but I think that it hasn't always been inviting to the people that live directly around it or even within the same city. And so, thanks for being people of color and coming downtown to start a business owned and operated by people of color.
We appreciate
And welcome, and I can't wait to come there and be a person of color and drink everything you got on the bar.
Yeah, we love that.
In a responsible way.
In a responsible way, and only if you pass the liquor license.
Really excited though. That part of downtown is, it's going to be great for us to activate that specific area. The gateway to downtown is what we're kind of branding it. So,
all right.
And it'll be great to see because there really hasn't been anything there since I used to go look at Carmen Gia's back in the late '60s and the '70s.
Absolutely.
So it'll be excellent.
We look forward to learning more.
Commissioner Chairman?
Yes, I'd like to welcome you guys here, and I'm looking forward to your success in the city of Muskegon. The diversity that you bring as Black business owners, that's something I've always advocated for since I've been on this commission, and want to see more. So the city that we serve and it is more inclusive, and people will feel welcome of all ethnic backgrounds. I'm not a drinker or anything like that, but I got a lot of friends that do drink. So I'm usually the designated driver. So, but looking forward to you guys and your businesses thriving downtown.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Emery?
No, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and more importantly, thank you all for your energy and interest and investment in Muskegon and wanting to be additive and being part of that revitalization of our downtown and being part of that magnificent mosaic that is Muskegon. So grateful to have you and looking forward to your opening. What is your outlook for opening? What's the timeline?
So we want to definitely be open before New Year. That would be absolutely outstanding. We think that construction will be complete around Thanksgiving. That's the timeline we've been given. So we'll see how things go. But we're really excited to try to get something going before the new year. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Emery?
I do have a question. Are you going to be serving food?
Very limited. So charcuterie boards, we're going to be hopefully engaging with some of the food trucks if that's a part of our ordinance, and we're still learning about what is applicable and what's available in the area, but we definitely plan to take advantage of some of the local eateries and the fine dining that is already in the ecosystem.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you.
I dig salami and cheese.
There you go. Yes, ma'am.
I'm good. That's my mama's side. She's the French. She's the Frenchie.
And olives and other good stuff like that.
Keep going. Excellent. Anything else, commissioners, before we go to vote?
I guess I should make it unanimous that we're welcoming you. So we're very excited. I know we've been waiting for this one for a while. So
yes,
thanks for the work from your side and also staff side, but we're looking forward to it.
We appreciate you guys.
I think we should thank our the core realty people we've been working with. They've been wonderful, and it would be remiss not to say thank you and from the very start. So thank you.
Very good. And again, welcome home. Welcome home. And if you can get us some Polish food, I can get my wife into doing a meal. Okay. All right.
Here's a quick question for staff. Commissioner. So given this is a DDA on-premise liquor license, are there like limitations on the number of those that we can issue in our DDA? Nope, no impact on that. Okay, just want to get clarity. Thank you.
If there's nothing else, roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Mayor Galvin?
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Mississippiga?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Appreciate it.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Commissioners, is there any other business to bring before the body before we go to public comment? Commissioner Ramsey?
Yeah, I am just hoping that the city manager and deputy can work to get us an update on the progress happening at the watermark by our next meeting.
We'll have one.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything,
He's not
Vice?
listening, but he will.
Vice Mayor, Commissioner Mississippiga, anything?
No.
Commissioner German? No. Commissioner Emery?
Oh, what are we doing?
Commissioner Johnson?
Is there any other business?
Any other business?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I would just, a couple things right quick. One, kudos to our clerk and her team and our commissioners who also volunteered at Taste Muskegon. Awesome event as usual.
Thank you.
In extenuating circumstances. It's nice to have the virtual version and the real life version as well. So great work on another successful Taste of Muskegon. Hats off to everybody involved with that. It was delicious.
It was a large
delightful.
team, so we want to thank everybody. There was a lot of people involved, for sure.
And also, I want to let folks know that there is an expungement clinic happening this Friday at the Muskegon Farmers Market. People are encouraged to register in advance, but there will be day of registration as well. That's from 3:30 to 7:30, being conducted as part of the Michigan Clean Slate Week of Action, being put forward by the Black and Brown Cannabis Guild, 501c3 out of Grand Rapids. They've been doing clinics in Flint already this week, Grand Rapids tonight, also going to be Detroit, and kind of almost last minute, we added on Muskegon here. So I'm happy that we're able to do that expansion clinic at our farmers market, 3:30 to 7:30, October 1st. You can go to bbcannabis.com/clean slate to register in advance. They'll do a free background check and then review your case and help you with your application, get the application done, and then give you a checklist of what you need to do thereafter. So it's meant to be comprehensive. And there'll be also wraparound services to help people beyond just expungement, but also in other areas, so employment or housing or education, so that we can help as many people as possible, as broadly as possible, and get that fresh start and clean slate.
Oh, Commissioner Johnson, can you repeat that website again, please?
Yeah, it's bbcannabis.com/clean slate. It's not just cannabis convictions, but it is the Black and Brown Cannabis Guild that is working on it, and I know several of us on this commission were very keen on supporting doing expungements here when we move forward with our cannabis operations and allowing cannabis operations here, given that so many people had been negatively impacted and snared by prohibition, and wanting to help them move beyond that so they don't have that harmful legacy hanging over their heads and being barriers to employment or housing or other opportunities. Well, people are now profiting off of that industry. So this is not just cannabis, but that is part of the impetus for why this guild or organization is doing these clinics, and also what prompted me to get involved with it. So just wanted to put that out there because we'd like to help as many people as possible with expungement wraparound services. So thank you. And I think even one of our fellow commissioners may be there also with some resource support.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. I'm glad to see it brought into the community here. And we all have to work diligently. I know that the Michigan Municipal League is really working hard on criminal justice reform in the state, so that we can, serve all of us and those who have experienced negative contact with the criminal justice system, but dealing with the legislature and the courts of being hopefully more measured. in how we address these things. And speaking of the Michigan Municipal League, I'm very happy as your mayor and as an executive member of the Board of Trustees of the Michigan Municipal League to let the public know that on October 19th to the 21st, 2022, the Michigan Municipal League is bringing their convention 2022 home to Muskegon. So we look forward to all of our friends and colleagues at the league coming to enjoy our hospitality and all of your friendly faces. Look at Mr. Ramsey just smiling. Okay. If there's nothing else at this time, we open the floor to any of our attendees, our friends and neighbors. Have Donna Pennington, who's literally a neighbor across the way. Each individual comes up to the podium, as you've seen before, during the public comment on the agenda items. Each individual is just asked to give their name, their address, and they're given 3 minutes to give comment. And we do not deliberate or debate at this time, but your comments are taken in by us, and depending, we will make further contact with you. So take her away, Donna.
Okay, well, thank you for just a little bit more of your time, which you've already given so generously to so many important issues. My name is Donna Pennington, as has been noted, and I live at 1418 Lakeshore Drive. And I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of the Friends of the Lakeshore Fitness Center. We are a group of concerned citizens who spent quite a few months recently just trying to save the fitness center from the wrecking ball. But now we hope to be moving into being supporters and working towards membership and participation in what we hope will be the new fitness center. As you know, the Boys and Girls Club purchased the former facility on Muskegon Lake, but will include a community fitness center in a great example to me of the concept of community and working together for the common good. The club hopes to start renovating and expanding the building at 900 West Western in January to create a state-of-the-art Boys and Girls Club in one portion of the building and an updated fitness center for all ages in the other. Altogether, the renovations are estimated to cost about $7.5 million, the largest share of which will go to the Boys and the Girls Club. We are given to understand that in June, City Manager Frank Peterson recommended a possible $1 million investment from the American Recovery Act or the coronavirus stimulus for our facility improvements, a recommendation that we greatly appreciate and are here to support. We spent time at the Taste of Muskegon event this weekend to talk to residents and found there was pretty strong support for programs for our youth and for opportunities for health and fitness activities in our community. This would be basically consistent with the city's survey and with the Balducci study that was done in 2020. We were able to gather about 140 petition signatures that I can share with you in only about an hour and a half at the event. It was a really enjoyable activity. No one said, gee, we have too many activities for our children in Muskegon. And no one said, gee, we have just too much going on with fitness in the city of Muskegon. And I'm sure that doesn't surprise you. So we commend the city of Muskegon for the creation and maintenance of the very popular Muskegon Lake Bike Path and the improvements to our city parks that have been undertaken and the Pere Marquette Beach, and these all enhance our quality of life. On the other hand, we want to remember that we live in the state of Michigan, and that we need indoor alternatives for activities for many, many months of the year. And that's, I guess, part of the reason I'm here this evening. So most of us are aware of Muskegon County's poor rankings in terms of health outcomes and health behaviors. And we note that surrounding counties with much higher rankings have far, far greater access to health and wellness facilities than we do. Our one and only full-service facility, we hope, will garner your support. The users of the fitness center also reflected, at least to some extent, the diversity of our city, even though we could do even better with that with some more outreach. Any number of people have commented to me that their workouts were the only time that they interacted with many other people of different races and backgrounds, even though, as we know, we are quite a diverse city. So the use of the COVID stimulus funds seems particularly appropriate to me, given that fitness centers were hard hit by the pandemic. And we also learned that COVID-19 was not an equal opportunity killer, that certain pre-existing conditions make people more vulnerable to severe disease. Many of these, such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, heart and lung disease, have something in common, and that would be that exercise is a mitigating help to all of them, or for all of them. So your expenditures of these funds to contribute to a newly remodeled facility for our children and to support the health and well-being of the people of Muskegon seem a very worthy and important use for these funds. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
For your time and attention.
Counselor, did you want to address us?
Oh, I believe you.
That was it? Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Lattis. I've been Muskegon County has been my lifelong residence. I grew up in the city of Muskegon. I'm with the fitness center, and how important it is. You wonder why it's important, because we like to stay alive, and if you're an elderly person, you need to continue your exercise. And the fitness center is probably the only source that for adults to get that kind of exercise experience. The other, and I think she gave all the merits of the organization, why we hope your support through the giving assistance from the money that we get from the federal government would be a great benefit to all the community. And I think I've read in the paper last Sunday that how the city of Muskegon is endeavoring to get a lot of housing down in the area where the fitness center is, and that would be another good reason for making sure we have a top-rated fitness centers. We hope we'll get your assistance. So thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Also, I enjoyed this being here, even though, as a former prosecuting attorney, I must say, times have really changed.
Did you want to have a go at it with this other attorney here for old time's sake? Okay, never mind. Okay. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address the commission? If not, Vice Mayor, take us home because I'm hungry.
I move to adjourn.
Support. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Keep that.
See you later.